If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 1. East Blue, in the Goa Sea. Underneath a cloudless, sunny sky, the sea stretched out in endless shades of blue. A flock of seagulls gracefully glided above the sparkling waves and landed on a medium-sized ship. "Ah, another day without a nothing in sight," sighed Logan, leaning against the ship's railing at the front of the deck, stretching his limbs in response to the sea breeze. It had been a year since Logan arrived in this world as a time traveler. Like other traversers, he possessed a system, the god-level manga system. Drawing manga granted him strength and abilities, a power that had made him feel invincible. Yet, as time passed, he began to notice a flaw. While his speed and defense endlessly increased with each manga drawn, there were no other benefit. His anticipation to becoming OP was met with the harsh reality that he remained limited to only 2 attributes. To complicate matters, Logan found himself on an unfamiliar ship without any navigation skills. Fortunately, the ship carried enough food to prevent him from becoming the first traverser in history to starve despite possessing a cheat. "When will I encounter someone? I'll thank God as long as I can set foot on land," Logan mused, using his hand to shield his eyes as he scanned the horizon. Yet, the vast sea revealed no signs of human presence. "Gilyalu." A bubbling sound interrupted Logan's thought, drawing his attention. Crash! A sizable wooden barrel bobbed in the sea. "Hey? A gift from the sea? Could it be? Is it a devil fruit?" Upon seeing the unexpectedly large wooden barrel, Logan's heart quickened. Could this be a stroke of luck from the universe? Disillusioned with the flawed system, the prospect of a devil fruit presented itself as a potential turning point in Logan's fate. He skillfully manipulated the salvage rope, securing the barrel to the deck, preparing for a potential prize draw. Boom! Before he could approach, the lid of the barrel erupted. "I slept so well." A boy in a straw hat, appearing as if he had just awakened, stretched and, in the process, blew apart the barrel. Luckily, Logan had managed to bring the barrel onto the deck. Had it still been in the sea, the boy would have lazily drowned inside. "It seems I was saved. I thought I'm going to die in the sea, ha 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 ha." The straw-hatted boy dusted off the sawdust and emerged from the barrel. Logan observed the scene and fell into contemplation. Am I here to encounter the protagonist? Suddenly, the previously unclear timeline became apparent. Luffy, with his trademark straw hat, a massive barrel emerging from the sea. Yes. This is the moment when Luffy embarks on his journey from Windmill Village. Ha! Paintbrush man, you saved me, right? Luffy spotted Logan holding a paintbrush and approached him with a friendly greeting. Ah! It's really is Luffy, living up to his nickname, Logan thought, amused by the peculiar moniker. "My name is Logan," he said with a light cough, "I'm a mangaka." Mangaka? Sounds like a pretty powerful job. Luffy, hailing from a small mountain village, showed genuine interest. His exposure to professions mainly revolved around those related to pirates, thanks to the Red Hair Pirates. Navigators, fighters, chefs, musician, etc., Luffy listed the occupations he knew. Logan nodded, "Yes, it can be quite powerful. Especially with my system, it adds a unique touch." "Wow! That's great! Since you're so good." Luffy grinned and pointed his thumb at himself, "Do you want to join my crew? I'm Luffy, Monkey D. Luffy. The man who's going to find One Piece." Logan pondered the proposition. He chuckled to himself. Join the Straw Hats? Sounds like a good idea. With a flawed system at his disposal, soloing in the One Piece world might be out of the question, but life continues. In a world filled with meteor volcanoes, earthquakes, birdcage, buster calls, the existence of ordinary lives seems trivial. In such a chaotic world, securing a significant pirate group is a smart move. The Straw Hat Kid before him clearly fits the bill, a major player, or rather, a group of major players. On the surface, he's just a Straw Hat Kid, but in reality, he's a Straw Hat Kid backed by Marine Hero Garp, Revolutionary Army Leader Dragon, and 4 Emperors Shanks. What's more, he himself is wielding some serious cheats. In essence, joining the gang of the Straw Hat Boy guarantees a smooth journey to the finale. Okay. Logan agreed without hesitation, being Pirate King's crew is indeed a great choice. Wow! I have a crew! Luffy exclaimed, delighted by the swift agreement. He jumped around like an excited monkey, clapping his hands in joy. After a brief celebration, Luffy surveyed the empty deck curiously. Logan, why don't I see anyone else? Because I'm the only one on this boat. Hey? So, you're the captain of this ship? No, correction, now you are, the future captain, Luffy. Hey! Luffy blinked in surprise. Chapter 2. That night marked the first celebration in the history of the Straw Hat Pirates, albeit with only 2 participants. Ah, sailing on the sea is really boring. Logan, what are you doing? Luffy complained the next morning, finding Logan in his studio. Despite joining the Straw Hat Pirates, Logan wasn't one to idle away his time. While the god-level manga system provided a significant advantage, he remained dedicated to drawing mangas. This routine not only increased his defense and speed but also granted him the power to protect himself, even if the output was still at 0. Maintaining his routine from his previous life, Logan would rise at 7 in the morning to start drawing mangas. Hey, Luffy, you're up, Logan greeted, glancing at the clock. It was only 8 o'clock. Observing Luffy's belly, Logan marveled at its swift recovery. He recalled Luffy turning into a big ball after consuming a lot of food the night before. What an enviable digestive system! Luffy approached, pulling out a hand-drawn nautical chart from his pocket. I don't know if the direction we guessed last night is correct. If we sail like this, do you think we can reach the next island? While talking, Luffy nudged the nautical chart toward Logan, indicating for him to inspect it. Logan, unimpressed by the abstract chart, pushed it back with a hint of disdain. Even a god-level mangaka found it challenging to decipher. Well, don't worry. I trust your judgment. Luffy reassured, expressing complete faith in Logan's decisions since they decided to team up with the Straw Hat Pirates. The man exuded a protagonist's aura, making his decisions infallible in Logan's eyes. Great. Since you agree with my judgment, it seems like I must have guessed right. Luffy declared, placing the nautical chart back in his possession. He then leaned over Logan's desk, eyes wide with enthusiasm, and exclaimed, Whoa, this person in your drawing can actually control lightning. It's amazing. Hold on. The paint isn't dry yet. Logan protested. Seeing Luffy's keen interest in his mangas, Logan sensed a looming disaster. Luffy, known for his impulsive nature, could easily wreak havoc in his manga studio. It's okay, I'll just take a look. Don't worry about it too much, Luffy reassured. Don't worry? The more you say that, the more worried I get, Logan muttered under his breath. Even though the destruction of these mangas wouldn't affect Logan's strength, the effort he put into creating them made their potential destruction emotionally impactful. Come on, Captain. If you have nothing to do, go outside and see where our ship is. Maybe the island is approaching, Logan suggested, getting up and leading Luffy out of the studio. Okay then, I'll come and have a look when you go to bed at night. Luffy's response made Logan cringe. Why is he fixated on my mangas? Being familiar with One Piece's plot and Luffy's tenacious nature, Logan knew that once Luffy found something interesting, he wouldn't let it go. Deciding on a strategy, Logan glanced at the bookshelf and pulled out a copy of Akame ga Kill. Interested in manga? Well, let's try this manga and see if it depresses him enough to lose interest in my mangas. Logan handed Akame ga Kill to Luffy, saying, Here, this manga is very suitable for you. Take it back and read it slowly. If you ever want to read manga in the future, let me know. Just promise me one thing: never come to my studio when I'm not around. Hee hee. Received. Luffy exclaimed, joyfully raising his hands as he dashed out with the manga in hand. Hey! Luffy, it's not a joke. I'm serious, I really don't want my studio demolished by you. I hope Akame ga Kill can curb your interest in mangas, Logan called out, shaking his head, and closed the door. Meanwhile, Luffy, armed with Akame ga Kill, went to the deck for a brief lookout. Failing to spot the island's silhouette, he settled down and immersed himself in the manga. Yet! Let's go for the Boy of Dreams! Luffy cheered, captivated by the manga's depiction of Tatsumi, Ieyasu, and Sao embarking on a journey to save their poor village. As he followed the characters, Luffy saw shades of himself, Ace, and Sabo in their adventures. Once upon a time, his dream was for the three of them to set sail together. Observing this scene now in the pages of the manga, Luffy felt a warm sensation in his heart. Logan was right. Akame ga Kill is truly a good manga. Luffy sighed with contentment. Chapter 3. That's amazing. The three of them can embark on the journey of their dreams together, which is really enviable. Luffy exclaimed joyfully as he continued flipping through the pages. Wow! Tatsumi is so strong. He killed this dangerous species by himself, so powerful. Luffy marveled. Although he and his little friend are temporarily separated, they will definitely get in touch when they arrive in the Imperial capital. Yet, Tatsumi has finally arrived in the Imperial capital, and he will meet his little friend soon, right? Hey? This recruiter is an idiot. He kicked Tatsumi out. Damn it, how did this bad woman cheat Tatsumi of his money? Why aren't there many good people in the Imperial capital? Hey? You're being hasty. Miss Alia, who helped Tatsumi, is a very nice person, as gentle as Makina. This was Luffy's first experience reading mangas. Like many fans introduced to mangas for the first time, he quickly fell into the plot's rhythm, unable to put it down. Ah! Bastards! These bastards of the Night Raid team, why did they kill the gentle and lovely Miss Alia? Luffy erupted in anger when he witnessed the Night Raid team assaulting Miss Alia's house in the Imperial capital. It's so intense. Eager to see the chapter where these Night Raid squads are dealt with, Luffy turned to the next page. However, when the tragic scene unfolded, Nani! A complex mix of shock, disbelief and unacceptance flashed across Luffy's face. Luffy is about to be shocked. As the plot unfolded, Luffy gradually grasped the dynamic between justice and evil in the manga. Bastard! These people are a million times more hateful than the nobles of Goa Kingdom. Luffy exclaimed, expressing his intense emotions toward the story. Observing the corrupt actions of the nobles and officials, Luffy's internal anger reached its boiling point. Why are these innocent people being executed? Luffy couldn't contain his fury. Bastard! Stop the damn executioner! Ah! I want to beat this group of scumbags away. Unable to bear the sight of innocent people about to be executed in the square, Luffy's frustration reached a breaking point. He looked up to the sky and roared angrily, "Asshole! Stop it!" Boom! The sound of thunder echoed through the air. Tick-tock! Raindrops pattered on the ground, splashing on Luffy's legs. The executioner on the platform froze in astonishment, gazing downward. The crowd around stared in shock, their attention fixated on Luffy. Ah! Luffy, sensing the collective gaze, looked down at his open palm, where the cold raindrops landed. What's happening? This rain, this sensation, it's all real. Shouldn't I be on Logan's boat? Luffy stomped the ground. Is this person crazy? How dare he openly behave like this? Crazy! This is a capital offense. The crowd around Luffy reacted with shock and disapproval. After a brief period of shock, the surrounding crowd erupted into horrified discussions. In a corner not far away, Mine and Tatsumi were watching the execution, having come to the Imperial capital to gather information. While they wanted to save the people being executed, their rationality forced them to give up on such a dangerous act. However, the sudden appearance of the Straw Hat Boy left them utterly dumbfounded. Tatsumi widened his eyes and exclaimed, "No, that brave boy is about to suffer. Idiot! Why is he so reckless? Not only can't he save anyone, but he'll put himself in danger." Mine clenched her small fists, feeling annoyed at Luffy's impulsive behavior. Bastard! What are you doing? Oka, the captain of the Imperial capital's defense, roared in anger. Continue the execution. They are criminals who slandered the minister, they should be executed immediately. What about that person? Go after him. You dare to disturb the execution of the soldiers of the Empire, you deserve death. Amidst the anger of Captain Oka, another soldier broke through the crowd and rushed toward Luffy. On the execution platform, after the executioners regained their senses, they raised their butcher sword high again. Although I don't know why I appeared here, but this is just as I wished. Luffy stomped his feet and jumped high using the force of his rubber-like body. Rubber gun! Boom! As an executioner raised his sword, his head got punched, and he fell to the ground instantly. What? How can his hands stretch so long? Oh my god, did I get dazzled just now? I heard that among the strong men in Imperial Fist, there is an existence that can manipulate their own bodies to attack. Could it be that he is also from Imperial Fist? But why would people from Imperial Fist come to deal with the Imperial Guards? Ignoring the shock of the surrounding crowd, Luffy punched one of the executioners flying, grabbed the execution frame, and pulled his body onto the execution platform. Kill him! Several executioners shouted fiercely and lunged at Luffy. Swish! Rubber whip! Luffy's leg transformed into a long whip, thrashing left and right. The executioners, who proved to be no match for him, were swiftly knocked out. You want to die? The enraged Captain Oka, a formidable swordsman, drew his sword and charged onto the execution platform. I'm going to chop you into pieces. I'll beat you up first. Rubber Gatling gun. Bang, 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 bang. Fists fell like a rainstorm, relentlessly pummeling Captain Oka's body. He was tossed around like a rag doll. Boom! With the final punch, Oka's body shot up into the sky like a cannonball, traversing several rooftops before disappearing from view. Battle experience value plus 1000. Fruit proficiency plus 1000. Hacky prototype experience value plus 1000. Above Luffy's head, an invisible transparent interface displayed a few prompts. Chapter 4. Quiet. Silence. The scene fell into a dead hush. Everyone stared at Luffy on the scaffold in disbelief. In the Imperial capital, the captain of the defense force was sent flying. Is this person crazy? Even the night raid squad, which terrified the Imperial capital, only engaged in assassination activities and never took action in such a large crowd. Catch him! With a stern command, a large number of soldiers from the Imperial defense team rushed toward the execution platform from all directions. The civilians who had been spectating fled hastily. While they were residents of the Imperial capital, their lives were no different from the minions of the Empire. It was fine to watch the spectacle, but when life itself was at stake, nobody wanted to take a second look. It's just right. Facing the oncoming Imperial soldiers, Luffy not only showed no fear but was filled with excitement. He continued walking, looking back and throwing punches. With each blow, an Imperial garrison soldier fell to the ground. Battle experience value plus 1000. Fruit proficiency plus 1000. Hacky prototype experience value plus 1000. Battle experience value plus 1000. Fruit proficiency plus 1000. Hacky prototype experience value plus 1000. Transparent reminders kept appearing above Luffy's head. Behind him, beams of energy accurately targeted every garrison soldier attempting to sneak attack Luffy. That person is too strong. Beside mine, Tatsumai, acting as the guard, watched the battle scene and was so shocked that his eyeballs almost popped out. Well, he's strong, but he can't be so reckless. We have to save him, he has the qualifications to join the night raid. While he spoke, Mine's accuracy in shooting remained unaffected. Her eyes were sharp, and everywhere she looked, it was the moment when the guard soldiers fell. Time passed by every minute and every second. When the last Imperial Guard soldier fell unconscious under the bombardment of Luffy's rubber Gatling gun, the entire square fell into complete silence. Not only that, even the surrounding streets were eerily quiet. Those people had already run back home, shivering. They knew that such rebellious behavior was something the Empire would never tolerate. Soon there would be a cleansing by the Empire. Not only that, the lengthy battle on the other side of the square must have already alarmed the Empire. The monsters from army must be on their way. Hucky hucky. Luffy clenched his fists and drooped naturally. He lowered his head, panting heavily. Hey! Why are you still standing there? Get out of here! The pink figure appeared behind Luffy, the voice carrying a hint of complaint and coquettishness, but undeniably cute. Luffy looked back and saw Mine holding the gun, gesturing with a come here movement, then ran toward the alley. Mine ran a few steps but heard Tatsumai shout, Hey, hey, you ran in the wrong direction. That's the way to the palace. She looked back and saw that Luffy was not following her and Tatsumai but walking toward the avenue leading to the palace. The two quickly rushed over and stopped Luffy. Hey! We want to save you. Follow us first. We will introduce our organization to you when we are in a safe place. Mine's legs were spread apart, and she crossed her arms angrily. No, you're a night raider, I know. Luffy remained expressionless and walked past Mine. At that moment, his mind was filled with thoughts of the oppressed people. His mind was full of a desire to defeat the minister and the king. Run away? Well, those words were not in Luffy's dictionary. When Luffy directly revealed their identities, Mine and Tatsumai's expressions changed simultaneously. Even the Empire didn't know the identities of the two night raiders, but the person in front of them revealed it immediately. For a while, Mine and Tatsumai were confused. Have we been exposed? However, looking at Luffy's appearance, this person should not be a bad guy. After thinking about it, Mine decided not to dwell on it but reminded, "Hey! Where are you going?" "That's the road leading to the palace." "That's right, I'm going to the palace. I'm going to beat that bastard minister and puppet emperor away." Luffy's voice was cold, but he didn't stop his steps. "Ah!" Tatsumai opened his mouth wide in shock. Hey! You, although you are very strong, if you think so, you are sending yourself to death." Clap, 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 clap. At this moment, a burst of applause came from under the dim street lights ahead. "Do you want to go to the palace to commit murder? Ha ha ha, then this road will not work." From the shadows, a burly bald man stepped out, with a scruffy and lush beard and two bull's eyes like copper bells, giving him a demonly appearance. "What?" Tatsumai took a step back subconsciously, his face full of shock. Mine's expression changed drastically, and opened her mouth slightly. "It's not good, he is Sten among the 4 demons of Rakshasa." Tatsumai didn't know about the Raksha 4 demons, but Mine, as a night raid member, would definitely not miss on her homework on materials. Since he appears here, then. Mine subconsciously grabbed her gun and looked around. Sure enough, on a railing on the 2nd floor, a cute girl with wheat-colored skin waved to Mine. "Hi! Looking for me?" May, one of the 4 Rakshasa demons, greeted Mine with a playful smile. "Don't look, I'm here." On the left, Suzuka, another of the 4 demons, emerged from the alley. Tatsumai was nervous and counted, 1, 2, 3, there should be one more. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, he felt a strong force on his neck and fell to the ground in the darkness. "Tatsumai!" Mine exclaimed, turning her head to see the last of the 4 demons appearing behind them. Ibara. Without any extra hesitation, Mine bounced back and was about to shoot. But before she raised her gun, Ibara disappeared from her sight. "Too slow." A teasing voice sounded in Mine's ear. Boom! Heavy fist fell, and Mine fell unconscious on the ground. "Bastard! Get away from them! Rubber gun!" Luffy roared, and the rubber fist blasted out. "Hey! Have you developed your body to the point where you can manipulate it at will?" At the same time, he stretched out his right hand, and his arm stretched instantly like Luffy's, grabbing Luffy's fist that was about to hit the spine's back. "Nanny? Are you also a rubber man?" This scene directly stunned Luffy. Ibara turned around, glanced at Luffy, and said in that characteristic hangman voice, "Say goodbye to your companion." As he said that, a large number of needle pricks emerged from his arm, and he stabbed at Tatsumai's head. Seeing this scene, Luffy felt his blood pressure rushing into his head. Although he hasn't spoken a few words with Tatsumai and Mane, Luffy knows about the support that Mine and Tatsumai gave him just now. For Luffy, as long as you have fought side by side with me, you are a friend who can count on him. Seeing that these 2 friends were about to die in front of his eyes, Luffy's emotions instantly reached the brink of collapse. "Do not!" Luffy roared in grief. "Hey!" A gust of sea breeze blows on his face. With a jerk, Luffy woke up. "Ah! I was just..." Feeling his own face, Luffy thought he was hallucinating. But when he saw the manga in his hand, his eyes widened suddenly. Because the picture on this page is different from before. He remembered that the content of this page should be about the numbness of the onlookers after the execution of those innocent civilians. But now, Ibara of the Raksha 4 demons is swinging his arm, and the dense needle pricks on it are aiming at Tatsumai on the ground. Chapter 5. But. No buts. I don't want to listen to you. I'm going to the palace right now. Luffy interrupted Mine and continued walking toward the avenue leading to the palace. Mine and Tatsumai exchanged glances, realizing that persuading Luffy might not be easy. They decided to follow him and find a way to explain things later. As they approached the palace, they saw a burly bald man stepping out from the shadows. With a scruffy beard and copper bell eyes, he looked formidable. "Are you trying to go to the palace to commit murder?" "Ha ha ha, then this road will not work," the burly man mocked. Luffy clenched his fists, ready for a fight. The atmosphere became tense as the burly man revealed himself to be Sten, one of the 4 Rakshasa demons. "And if it isn't a member of the night raid?" "What a delightful surprise," said May, another one of the Rakshasa demons, appearing on a railing. The situation escalated when Ibara, the boss of the Rakshasa demons, emerged and knocked out Mine and Tatsumaya with a single blow. Bastard! Get away from them! Luffy roared, unleashing his rubber gun attack. Hey? Have you developed your body to the point where you can manipulate it at will? Ibara questioned as he intercepted Luffy's attack. As the confrontation unfolded, Luffy realized the gravity of the situation. He couldn't let his new allies be harmed. Determined to protect them, he thought about the manga in his hands and shouted, "I want to go in." In an instant, the surroundings changed, and Luffy found himself back in the dark night, witnessing the perilous scene. Now, armed with the knowledge from the manga, he had a plan to change the course of events. "I'm going to beat Minister and the Emperor, so hurry up," Luffy declared, pushing Mine and Tatsumaya toward safety. Confused by Luffy's determination, Mine and Tatsumaya reluctantly followed him, hoping to understand his motives and convince him otherwise. The night was fraught with danger, but the trio forged ahead, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. Luffy's words left Sten bewildered for a moment, his eyes narrowing in confusion. It seemed the eccentric young man before him was not one to adhere to formalities or conventional insults. Ignoring the brief distraction, Luffy took advantage of the moment and unleashed another barrage of attacks. With incredible speed and agility, he darted towards Sten, throwing punches and kicks in a flurry of motion. Sten, although amused by Luffy's audacity, responded with calm composure. He effortlessly dodged and parried Luffy's attacks, showcasing his superior combat skills and experience. The clash between the rubbery young pirate and the formidable Rakshasa demon created a spectacle of speed and precision. In the midst of their exchange, Luffy suddenly twisted his body mid-air, sending a swift roundhouse kick towards Sten's face. The unexpected move caught Sten off guard, and the impact sent him staggering backward. "Hey? Not bad, kid. You've got some moves," Sten remarked, rubbing his chin with a hint of amusement. The tension in the air was palpable as Luffy prepared for the next assault. However, before the confrontation could escalate further, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the alley. A shadowy figure emerged from the darkness, revealing a man with a muscular build and a menacing presence. "Sten, you seem to be having fun," the newcomer said in a deep, resonant voice. Sten turned to face the newcomer, a grin forming on his face. "Indeed, Captain Ogre. This kid here has some spirit in him. Want me to handle him for you?" "Ogre, the captain," observed Luffy with a critical eye. Despite the intense situation, Luffy couldn't help but notice the aura of power emanating from Ogre. It was clear that the challenges he faced were about to reach a whole new level. Boom! 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 Sten unleashed the formidable 100-crack fist, a martial art technique known for its devastating power. His fists moved like a relentless storm, striking at incredible speed. Luffy, facing the barrage of punches, responded with his own unique style. He twisted his body, morgant like a rubber band, and evaded the majority of Sten's blows. His rubber-like resilience allowed him to absorb and deflect some of the impact. The clash between Sten's 100-crack fist and Luffy's unconventional fighting style created a chaotic scene in the narrow alley. The air was filled with the sounds of impacts, echoing through the empty streets. "Ha ha ha! Not bad at all." Sten laughed heartily as he continued to throw punches relentlessly. However, Luffy wasn't just dodging, he was adapting and learning from his opponent. In the midst of the intense exchange, he began to predict Sten's movements and counterattacks. The rubbery flexibility of his body proved to be a formidable asset in this high-speed battle. As the battle unfolded, Suzuka watched with interest. Suzuka's eyes narrowed, realizing that Luffy's combat skills were gradually improving as the fight progressed. On the second floor, Mei, with her playful demeanor, clapped her hands and cheered, "Haha! It's getting more exciting. Keep it up, Sten." The confrontation continued, with both fighters pushing their limits. The alley became a stage for an extraordinary clash of powers, and Luffy's determination to protect his friends fueled his relentless pursuit of strength. The clash between Luffy and Sten drew the attention of passers-by who had ventured out to see what was happening. The onlookers, though cautious, were fascinated by the extraordinary display of strength and skill. As the battle raged on, Luffy continued to endure Sten's powerful attacks. Each encounter contributed to his growth, accumulating valuable experience points and enhancing his proficiency with the rubber fruit powers and haki. Sten, thoroughly enjoying the challenge, showed no signs of holding back. His cracking rock palm struck with relentless force, creating shockwaves that reverberated through the alley. Chapter 6. Battle Experience plus 1000. Fruit Proficiency plus 1000. Hacky Prototype Experience plus 1000. Luffy endured a relentless barrage of attacks, yet his offensive onslaught persisted. Until... It's quite peculiar. Your young friend here seems quite resilient in a fight, but your two companions are rather vulnerable. Emerging from the right alley, Ibara appeared, holding the unconscious Mine and Tatsumi, whom he callously tossed to the ground. With a swift motion, he raised his elbow, and a multitude of spikes emerged, descending menacingly toward the defenseless duo. Ah! Stop! A battered and bruised Luffy, his nose swollen, let out a hoarse roar at the sight of this gruesome scene. Wow! The sea breeze brushed against his face, its chill contrasting the warmth of the sunlight. Out again! Luffy scanned his surroundings, observing the gentle waves under the warm sunlight. The humid air provided relief, liberating Luffy from the intense mental strain moments ago. That Ibara is a real nuisance. Luffy despised villains who could stoop to such cruel actions without hesitation. If Ibara hadn't aimed to harm Mine and Tatsumi, Luffy would still be locked in combat with Sten. Perhaps it was an illusion, but Luffy sensed an improvement in his fruit proficiency during the recent battle with Sten, as if he were gradually mastering its usage. No, with my current strength, I can't rescue Mine and Tatsumi. I must continue the fight and bring those villains to their knees. Luffy took a deep breath and plunged back into the fray. This time, armed with knowledge of Sten's fighting style, Luffy's performance noticeably surpassed his second attempt. Experience points soared. Yet, when Ibara reappeared, Mane and Tatsumi's plight dragged Luffy back. After entering for the 4th time. Entering for the 5th time. 9th attempt. 10th try. Each time he entered, Luffy's performance improved significantly. With every entry, Luffy's determination to become stronger intensified. Having witnessed Mine and Tatsumi on the brink of death repeatedly, Luffy could only growl in frustration. By the 10th entry from the mangas, Luffy sensed that powerful moves were on the verge of being unleashed. This sensation was incredibly potent. Yes, I'm going to model it out. Go in! Luffy shouted again, eager to re-enter the manga. However. Go in. I want to go in. Let me in. I'm going in. After several attempts, Luffy's expression changed. This isn't right. No, I have to get in. After a few more tries, Luffy began to feel anxious. No. This manga belongs to Logan. He must know how to get in. I'll ask him. Unable to figure it out himself, Luffy, in a sudden burst of inspiration, rushed to Logan's studio with a manga book. Logan, help me. Entering Logan's studio, Luffy opened the door and went in. Swipe. Are you feeling depressed to consider counseling? Logan glanced up at Luffy. Witnessing the captain's evident distress, Logan suddenly felt a twinge of guilt. Look at how their spirited captain had become so despondent. At this moment, Luffy, his hair disheveled, eyes dull, and his entire demeanor exhausted. He even seemed a bit disoriented. A picture of utter despair. Seeing this, Logan couldn't help but feel remorseful. Maybe showing Luffy the mega of Akame ga Kill was a step too far. It appeared that the might of Akame ga Kill was overwhelming, even for Joy Boy. Did he, as the creator of Akame ga Kill, commit a crime by crafting such a manga? Logan, you have to help me. Anxious to rescue Mine and Tatsumi, Luffy held onto Logan's hand, his plea filled with urgency. Yet, the more distressed Luffy looked, the more guilty Logan felt. Luffy, don't worry. I understand everything about your situation. Logan offered a comforting hug and gently patted Luffy's head, attempting to alleviate the captain's despondency. Fantastic. I knew coming to you would help. Luffy's eyes lit up. Indeed, if anyone knew how to enter the world of the mangas, it had to be Logan. Logan reproached himself further. Clearly, Luffy was deeply ensnared in the shadow of Akame ga Kill, unable to break free. Merely a word of reassurance seemed to offer a glimmer of salvation. Logan, tell me the method. I need to save Mine and Tatsumi. Luffy, driven by the urgency of rescuing his friends, implored Logan eagerly. What? Save Mine? Save Tatsumi? Had Luffy rushed through the entire story already? But, oh no! Had Luffy's situation truly become this dire? He started talking gibberish. Luffy, listen to me, the solution is actually quite simple. Go back now, have a good rest, get some sleep, and everything will be fine by tomorrow. Saying that, Logan embraced Luffy even more tightly, feeling a sense of guilt in his heart. Is it okay to just get some sleep? Luffy paused for a moment. Then, it suddenly dawned on him. Exactly. Why didn't I think of it earlier? It must be that the number of times I entered today has reached its limit. Tomorrow, after the count resets, maybe I'll be able to enter again. Luffy, be obedient and go rest. You can save mine even better when you have enough energy. In an effort to coax Luffy into sleep, Logan echoed Luffy's sentiments. Save mine, right? Save her, save him. As long as you fall asleep, you can achieve anything in your dreams, rescuing whoever you want. Okay. I'm going to sleep now. Armed with this newfound hope, Luffy picked up the manga book and headed out. Observing Luffy happily hopping away to his room, Logan walked to the door and sighed suddenly. Oh dear. I messed up big time. Chapter 7. The next morning arrived early. Luffy rubbed his sleepy eyes and stretched on the bed. Ah! I want to save mine. I want to save Tatsumi. Suddenly remembering the crucial task at hand, Luffy leaped out of bed with newfound energy. He retrieved Akame Kill from under the pillow and eagerly opened it. True to his expectations, he found himself back in the manga world. Yesterday was not a dream. By the way, I used up my entry limit yesterday, but Logan mentioned that it would recover today. The thought quickened Luffy's heartbeat. Go in. Wow! Under the dim light, the imperial capital's stone pavement appeared gloomy and deserted. Sure enough, I'm back. Luffy rejoiced at his return. Hey! Why are you still standing there? Get out of here! A girl's voice, full of resentment, reached Luffy's ears. Oddly enough, every time Luffy entered the mangas, Mine's voice seemed to become increasingly irksome. It frustrated him to think that, without the two persistent pursuers of Tatsumi, he could have engaged in prolonged battles with the Raksha Four Demons. Although he couldn't see experience point prompts above his head, he sensed distinct improvements after each battle. Indeed, in Luffy's original world, the path to strength involved two crucial elements, Devil Fruit abilities and Haki. Regardless of the specific ability, the swiftest path to leveling up remained the same through continuous combat. Only in the relentless cycle of battle could true transformation and strength emerge. But when she couldn't enter the manga yesterday, Luffy became anxious. It felt like losing two valuable crews. Now, hearing that haunting voice again, Luffy was in such a good mood. However, without uttering a word, Luffy grabbed the two of them and pushed them into the alley. Soon after, the four Rakshasa demons appeared, and Luffy dove into battle. Undoubtedly, this journey into the mangas ended by preventing Mine and Tatsumi from meeting their demise. Soon the second time, the third time, the fourth time. When today's entry into the mangas reached the 9th time. Go away, you two idiots, and watch me beat those bastards away. Skillfully pressing Mine and Tatsumi, Luffy brought them to the side of the alley and pushed them in. Then, he swiftly headed to the avenue leading to the palace. Do you want to go to the palace to commit murder? Ha ha ha, then this road will not work in the shadows, the demonly Sten reappeared. Really? But I want to go. Under the straw hat, the corner of Luffy's mouth twitched slightly, and he stomped his feet. He rushed out like a rocket and slammed into Sten's chest with his clenched fist. Boom! A tremendous shock, Sten felt his mouth constrict, and his back molars clenched instinctively. The strength is so strong, it's really unexpected. Sten stepped back a few paces, eyes widened in surprise. He patted his chest and turned to Luffy with a playful smile. But, this should be your full strength, right? For my body that has experienced many cultivations, this strength is still not enough. Ah ha ha ha, no wonder he dared to make a big fuss in the execution ground of the imperial capital. He turned out to be a pretty strong. On the second floor, the figure arrived as promised. She morganed down, leaned over the railing, rested her chin on her elbows, and looked at Luffy with interest, her big black eyes sparkling. In the alley around the corner, Suzuka came out and let out a chuckle. Yeah, I haven't encountered such a strong prey for a long time. Do you know? Faced with this familiar scent, Luffy rubbed his wrists and flexed his hands and feet. The three looked at Luffy with some confusion. Know what? When I was repeatedly defeated by you, I kept thinking, if I can't enhance my strength, How can I protect my crews during our future travels? Although his only current crew is Logan, in the world of mangas, Luffy has companions like mine and Tatsumi. Moreover, he's confident that he'll gain more crews on his future sea voyages. Confronted with a situation like today, facing a life and death crisis with his crew and feeling utterly powerless, what right would he have to call himself a man seeking the One Piece? Luffy is grateful that his first crew is Logan. It's even more fortunate that Logan's mangas possess a magical ability allowing him to experience the helplessness and despair of losing a crew on his initial journey at sea. If it weren't for the fact that this is in the manga world of Akame ga Kill, with the function of unlimited retry, Luffy might genuinely lose his crews. Hence, every failure serves as a powerful injection of motivation for Luffy. Become stronger. I want to be stronger. On the square's avenue, Sten, Mei, and Suzuka exchanged glances. Hello? What are you talking about, little big brother in the straw hat? How do you keep losing to us? Mei opened her mouth, as if to say, are you kidding? Suzuka shrugged, if I recall correctly, this should be our first meeting. Could he be a fool? Babbling to himself there, Sten muttered, rubbing his fists and lowering his figure slightly, adopting his sprinting posture. Luffy didn't address the trio's questions but instead moved left and right, squatted down, his eyes filled with seriousness. Although some crews may not be strong, I hope they can always be with me. If I'm not strong enough, I might lose them. Oh? Your idea is correct, but in reality, when facing a formidable opponent like me, what can you, a little man, truly accomplish? Sten looked at Luffy playfully, the mockery at the corner of his mouth intensifying. During the 2 days of fighting and last night's rest, I racked my brain to devise more potent moves, to ensure the safety of my companion and the promise that no one will leave me. As Luffy spoke, his legs took on a wave-like shape, resembling water gushing from a faucet. A significant amount of air streamed in from the solace of his feet, circulating rapidly throughout his body, turning his skin red, and causing his body to emit steam. What's he doing? What's happening to his body? It looks like a boiled crab, remarked the horse, covering her mouth with a giggle, oblivious to the impending crisis. The body emitting steam, it seems he's someone who has developed his body to the point of controlling it. Could he be the one who stole the manuscript from the Imperial Fist? Pondered Suzuka. Interesting. Sten was brimming with excitement, clapping his hands together. Now, I want to liberate your soul even more quickly. However, at that very moment, Sten, Mei, and Suzuka were simultaneously stunned, their attention fixated on Luffy. Because at that moment, an aura characteristic of a formidable warrior quietly erupted from Luffy's body. Luffy placed his fist on the ground and abruptly raised his head. Gear 2nd. Chapter 8. There was no earth-shattering roar, no radiant spectacle. Although Luffy still appeared as the familiar Luffy, with the only notable change being his reddened skin, at this moment, an unmistakable aura of strength emanated from him. Having undertaken countless hunting missions, the 4 Rakshasa demons were seasoned in recognizing the aura of the powerful. Seems stronger than before, quite interesting, remarked Sten. A twisted smile gradually formed on his face as he spread his 5 fingers, producing a distinct clicking sound. However, despite your heightened aura, you'll come to understand one fundamental truth in the face of absolute power. Even if a feeble hair fluffs up its fur, it can never transform into a ferocious lion. With those words, Sten slammed his feet onto the ground. Despite his considerable bulk, this increased his inertia. While the martial arts of the Imperial Fist and the pirate world differed, particularly in terms of fortifying the human body, the Imperial Fist's martial arts were no less potent than Marine Six styles when it came to physical enhancement. Considering the relative lack of physical prowess in the Akame ga Kill world compared to the basic human physique in the pirate world, the Imperial Fist's training could still enhance the physical defenses of individuals like Sten, Ibara, and Suzuka, originally ordinary humans, toward an ultimate level. Ibara, in particular, could not only resist swords with his body but also wield any piece of flesh as a weapon, a testament to the strength of those practicing at Imperial Fist. Imperial Fist Big Steel Bearer. Like a ferocious beast unleashed from its cage or a speeding train arriving suddenly, Sten rushed toward Luffy in an instant. His palms, akin to 2 steel plates, swung open, aiming for a resounding slap to Luffy's head. This move, dubbed opening coconuts by Sten himself, had cracked heads and scattered brains before, even defeating formidable opponents. Boom! The palms closed over Luffy's head, and Sten grinned widely, anticipating the satisfaction of feeling the other's brains splattering across his body. Only snapped. The shocking pain from the palm suddenly jolted Sten out of his fantasy. It was the searing pain caused by the clap of Luffy's palms. As for Luffy, who had just been slapped by Sten's palms, he vanished like a bubble. After image. How is this possible? Realizing the gravity of the situation, the ferocity on Sten's face froze instantly. He violently turned his head, scanning his surroundings. It's here. Swift. Luffy reappeared behind Sten. Sten turned his head again, feeling as if a mountain had suddenly crashed into his chin. Rubber hawk. Luffy kicked up, and the sole of his slipper struck Sten's chin directly. Under the impact of this tremendous force, Sten's burly body took off. Woohoo! After traversing a perfect parabola, Sten crashed to the ground with a resounding thud, on the verge of losing consciousness. Wow, wow, wow. His hands squirmed unconsciously, attempting to say something, but his shattered jaw and lack of consciousness rendered him unable to utter coherent words. Suddenly, his vision slightly recovered. No. In Sten's sight, he saw a massive foot descending from the sky. Rubber axe. Luffy landed on Sten's face. Boom. The ground shattered. Luffy's feet plunged into the ground along with Sten's head. Caw 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 caw. The entire avenue leading to the Imperial Palace seemed to have been struck by an earthquake. In an instant, countless cracks materialized out of thin air, rapidly extending in all directions. Caw 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 caw. One of the fissures continued into the alley behind Luffy. This. In the alley, Tatsumi fell to the ground in shock, his eyes wide with astonishment. Is this the power that humans can achieve? When he emerged from the village and dealt with a few dangerous species along the way, Tatsumi thought he was formidable. But witnessing this scene now, he began to doubt the essence of life. Is that person truly of the same species as me? Amazing, so strong. Mine's mouth hung wide open, utterly dumbfounded. This incredible strength. Until now, she had only witnessed her brother Bullet in battle. However, Bullet could only attain this level when using Taigu. Yet, the individual before her relied solely on their own strength. Hiss. Under the street lamp, Suzuka gasped. It wasn't that Sten was knocked down that surprised her. But the fact that Sten was instantly defeated, that was beyond her acceptance. Hey, Mei, should we retreat first? As the most pragmatic of the four Rakshasa demons, Suzuka had no desire to end up like Sten. Nah. Hearing this, Mei jumped down from the second floor, tossing his hands back to grab his braid. Untie. Bang. You want to fight? Suzuka frowned. She knew that the maze only removed the ponytail when fighting at full strength, enabling maximum speed. Actually, I don't want to fight with such a little big brother. It's just that the order I received was to kill the criminals who disturbed the execution scene. So, I am also very helpless. Spreading out her two hands, Mei wore a slightly playful expression. Boom. No sooner had she finished speaking than an extended fist landed on her face. Now, you don't have to be helpless. Looking at the unconscious Mei, Luffy withdrew his fist. How about you? Sensing Luffy's formidable gaze, Suzuka pursed her lips. When will you be serious? Ah ha ha ha, thank you for your mercy. She lifted Mei with one hand and disappeared into the alley without looking back. Chapter 9. In the alley, Mane and Tatsumi were completely shocked by Luffy's strength. Under the dim light, a long shadow suddenly covered Mine's silhouette. Ah! Mine turned her head instinctively and immediately saw Ibara materializing like demons. Without hesitation, she raised gun in her hand, ready to shoot. Pew! Too slow. Ibara emerged behind Mine and Tatsumi, both elbows raised simultaneously as numerous sharp spikes appeared. Descending toward their heads, the spikes were about to pierce them. What? Realizing they couldn't dodge, the two screamed. Bang 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 bang. The sharp spikes hit the ground, shattering the alley floor into pieces. Oh! Ibara froze for a moment, then turned to look at Plaza Avenue. Luffy retracted his arms, holding Mane with one hand and Tatsumi with the other. Hey, no, not dead. Tatsumi patted his head, but there was no blood, and he still felt the surreal sensation of being reincarnated. Saved. Mine was thrown to the ground and let out a long breath. It's amazing to actually save someone under my watch. Ibara walked out of the alley leisurely, fixing his gaze on Luffy. During Luffy's battle with Sten and the others, Ibara had witnessed it all. However, being overconfident, he hadn't intended to intervene. In his opinion, the combined strength of the other 3 Raksha 4 demons couldn't match his own. He's the only one left. Let's take him down together. Mine got up from the ground, clutching gun tightly, and assumed the temporary role of the battle commander. However, Luffy stretched his hands back, sending Mane and Tatsumai to the alley far away. Don't hold me back. Luffy stared at Ibara, who was slowly emerging from the alley, with a deadly serious gaze. His battle instincts were sharp, and he could clearly sense that this person's aura was far stronger than the trio he faced earlier. Drag. Mine's expression immediately soured. Damn guy. We're here to help you. Even if you saved our lives just now, there's no need to be so rude. On the contrary, Tatsumai accepted the reality with resignation. He sighed and sat down on the ground. He's right. Our strength simply can't participate in such a battle. If we get close to him, we'll become a burden instead. Hey! Tatsumai! I won't allow you to say that. Hearing Tatsumai's agreement, Mine stamped her little foot, raised her gun, and fired in Ibara's direction. I really don't know what to do. Facing Mine's sniper attack, Ibara moved and dodged swiftly. In the next moment, he appeared in front of Mine and Tatsumai. Ah! Seeing Ibara's elbows transform into numerous sharp spikes directed at them, Mine let out a scream. Boom! A terrifying shockwave erupted suddenly. Ibara's figure abruptly retreated, and Mine and Tatsumai were sent rolling by Luffy's impact. I've said it all, don't drag me back. Why don't you listen? Luffy stood as an indestructible defensive shield, shielding Mane and Tatsumai. And saved us again. The corner of Tatsumai's mouth twitched, he felt like he had died several times today. Mine was also feeling downhearted. Well, I'm really useless. It seems that to get rid of these 2 nuisances, we must first deal with you. Ibara glanced at Luffy with surprise. Having fought Luffy himself, Ibara gained a new understanding of Luffy's strength. It seemed that when dealing with Sten earlier, Luffy hadn't used his full power. It's best that you understand this truth. Luffy rubbed his fists, instantly closing the distance to Ibara. Rubber jet gun. He threw a punch, causing the air to explode violently. The speed surpassed his earlier state. Ibara frowned and quickly slashed down to block, but the speed seemed too fast to dodge. Bang 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 bang. Their attacks were like phantoms, continuously colliding. Imperial Fist Acupuncture Assault. Rubber Jet Gatling Gun. Battle Experience plus 1000. Fruit Proficiency plus 1000. Hacky Prototype Experience Value plus 1000. Above Luffy's head, experience points kept appearing. Boom. Boom boom boom. On the square, the 2 figures fought together for a while before separating to launch long-range attacks. After a fierce collision, both rolled backward. Ibara kicked back, stabilizing his body with a playful expression. It seems our strengths are quite close. Although we can't determine the winner for now, with such a commotion, the Imperial capital should dispatch a Taiga user soon. When they arrive, you'll be like meat on the chopping board. No, he wants to buy time until reinforcements from the Imperial capital arrive. Hearing Ibara's words, Mine hastily warned Luffy. Hey. So what if you know? Are you able to leave? If you leave, the 2 of them will surely die. Ibara's sinister laughter was full of insidiousness. As a seasoned killer, he knew how to disrupt the opponent's mood in battle. Of course, what he said wasn't entirely untrue. In that case, let's get rid of you quickly. Facing Ibara's conspiracy, Luffy remained unmoved. Get rid of me? Ha 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 ha. I saw it clearly just now. In the battle with Sten, you suddenly used some ability to change state, greatly increasing your strength. And now, I can feel that your aura is getting weaker and weaker. If I'm not wrong, your strength improvement has a lot of side effects, right? It's very difficult for you to maintain such strength now. What else do you want to use to defeat me? Please, if you want to lie to me, you're too young. Huff. Huff. Luffy gasped heavily. That's right, the other party guessed everything right. Only. You're right, my gear shift does have side effects. Luffy wiped the blood overflowing from the corner of his mouth, staring at Ibara. The corner of his mouth suddenly grinned. But this state of mind has more than just the second gear. Ibara frowned, suddenly having a bad feeling. Sure enough, the next moment, Luffy squatted, placing his left thumb in his mouth. Gaba. Gear, 3rd. Chapter 10. Bone Balloons. As Luffy blew into his fingers suddenly, his left hand inflated at an exaggerated speed. In an instant, it soared to the size of a dozen Luffy bodies. Hiss! Such a huge balloon fist made the other 3 people present have expressions as if they had never seen the world. Ah! Ah! Tatsumai was so startled that he couldn't speak. He pointed at Luffy's fist. Ah! Taigu! He must be the Taigu user. Compared with Tatsumai, a country bumpkin, mine, who also came from a border village, performed much better. Although the practice of Imperial Fist allows people to control body changes at will, it is definitely not possible for a part of one's body to be enlarged to such an exaggerated level in an instant. Apart from Taigu, there is no other possibility. Outrageous! Looking at the giant fist held high in the air by Luffy, Ibara felt numb. With such a pervert physique, you are actually a Taigu user. Hey, you are really a bit of a naughty kid. Although Ibara is arrogant and conceited, when faced with this unknown ultimate move, he can't fight it head-on. Who knows the power of this blow? He didn't move immediately but fixed his eyes on the giant fist above. He believes that with his speed, as long as he can clearly see the trajectory of the giant fist falling, he can completely dodge it. Call out! A laser beam shot out. Ibara's figure dodged to the left, avoiding Mine's sniper attack. Don't think that if I pay attention to the above, I will ignore your existence. Ibara continued to look at Luffy's giant fist without glancing sideways, but spoke to Mine mockingly. But at this moment, whoosh! He suddenly felt a strong tightening sensation on his neck. Damn it! Most of the attention is on the giant punch, and a small part of the attention is on the snipers, but it ignores that Luffy has another hand. Rubber lasso! Luffy's voice came as the elongated rubber arms tightened around Ibara's neck. You idiot, not only will you not be able to strangle me to death, but you will become a target yourself. Feeling the strong pressure on his neck, Ibara immediately laughed out loud after a brief shock. The muscles in his neck attacked with his will. Puff puff puff. A large number of muscle needles pierced directly through Luffy's arm, splashing a lot of blood. Ha ha ha. Boy, if you are careless, you will lose everything. Now, you can't escape even if you want to. A ferocious laugh emerged from Ibara's mouth, and his 2 hands suddenly opened, fingers forming the same shape as finger gun. No doubt, he intended to disable Luffy's arm. But when he looked at Luffy, intending to see the despair in his prey's eyes, he was startled. Not good. His eyes were not despairing eyes. It is not the eyes of negative emotions such as tension and anxiety. It seems. There is a kind of pride in the victory. Acupuncture man, you made a mistake. The one who can't escape, it's you. Boom. Luffy, now reduced to a smaller version, scratched his head and grinned. Hee hee, yeah. That's Gear 3rd side effect, he explained. Wow, that's so cool. Mine's eyes sparkled with excitement. Can you become even smaller? Luffy chuckled. Nah, this is about as small as I can get with this technique. It's a bit inconvenient, but it's worth it for the power it gives me. Tatsumai, still recovering from the shock, muttered to himself, Taigu users, rubber powers. This world is full of unbelievable things. As they stood there, Tatsumai approached with a curious expression. So, what now? Are we safe? Luffy nodded. Yeah, for now. We should get out of here before more trouble comes. Thanks for the help, by the way. Mine smiled. No problem. It was like watching a live-action superhero movie. We're glad we could help you out. With that, the group started making their way out of the capital, leaving behind the unconscious Ibara and the aftermath of their battle. Little did they know that this encounter would be the beginning of an unexpected alliance, leading to more adventures in the mysterious world of Akame ga Kill. As soon as they arrive in a safe place, Luffy's environment started to change, the sea breeze blow on his face, he got out of the manga again. In the manga the latest drawing reveal Mine and Tatsumai escaping and Sten with Ibara defeated. There's still one more chance to enter the manga. But immediately hunger strike Luffy. Ah! Let me fill my stomach first, Luffy said as he ran to the cabin. On the way Luffy saw something, a ship coming toward his ship. Stop this ship and now. Mine on the bow of the ship, a burly body with a mace pointed to Luffy roar. Chapter 11. The ship collided. On the cabin Logan paintbrush slip and make a scratch on the paper. What is Luffy doing? Logan said. Logan then put his brush on his inventory, checking out his stat. He see the improvement on speed and defense attribute. He checked the system log classification interface again, and there was nothing in it. But what Logan didn't notice was that in the drop-down box of the log category interface, there was a finer division, including a system email category. This email interface was updated with an email today. Your manga fan Monkey D. Luffy has improved his strength in the world of the manga Akame Kill, and the development of his fruit has reached the second level. You simultaneously obtain the second gear ability of its fruit. Receive it while waiting for the host to check the mail. Your manga fan Monkey D. Luffy has improved his strength in the world of the manga Akame Kill, and the development of his fruit has reached the third level. You simultaneously obtain the third gear ability of its fruit. Receive it while waiting for the host to check the mail. The boat is moving, isn't Luffy demolishing the ship? After thinking for a while, Logan turned off the system interface and walked outside. On deck, Luffy looked at a group of uninvited guests who came up, and tilted his head. Are you trying to rob? Boy, you're smart. Jump off here, this boat belongs to the most beautiful woman in East Blue. A pirate pointing a sword at Luffy arrogantly, ordered. The most beautiful woman in East Blue. This time, Luffy was even more confused. He swayed his head from side to side and searched for a while. Where is it? Why didn't I see it? Bastard, blind your dog eyes. Ms. Alvida, the most beautiful woman in East Blue, is standing right in front of you, and you can't see it. Stupid, this is the most beautiful woman in East Blue. Luffy squinted his eyes, studying the burly pirate who claimed to be the most beautiful woman in East Blue. He scratched his head, looking genuinely puzzled. Although Luffy may seem carefree, his logical thinking is sound. He understands the underlying intentions of those around him. Pointing at Alvida incredulously, he remarked, "Is this the savage ant you're referring to?" What a shock! The pirate's eyes widened, and their jaws dropped simultaneously. Wild, savage ant. Hiss. After the initial shock, fear gripped their hearts. If they were to be entangled in Alvida's fury, it would be a perilous situation. The atmosphere on the entire deck suddenly turned gloomy, and the temperature seemed to drop a few degrees out of thin air. Alvida was known to be touchy, and crossing her path usually led to dire consequences. You little brat! Face your doom! With an enraged expression on her plump face, Alvida raised her mace without hesitation, aiming it at Luffy's head. Calling this beauty an ant? Well, this ant was about to show him his own brains. Boom! The mace descended heavily on Luffy's head, but instead of witnessing brain matter, Alvida was met with Luffy's smile. What? Hee hee, that won't work on me. Because I'm made of rubber. Under the brim of his straw hat, Luffy's wide grin was revealed. Now it's my turn. Luffy rubbed his shoulders, extending his arms backward. Then, to the astonishment of everyone, he shot towards Alvida's stomach like a cannonball. You know, in the original comics, even a newly seafaring Luffy could send Alvida flying. And now, this is Luffy, who has undergone a power-up. Although he refrained from using second gear, let's not overlook the fact that his Haki prototype has also been enhanced. Even if it hasn't materialized as armament Haki yet, the prototype of Haki has undoubtedly elevated his strength. With a single punch, Alvida's eyeballs were on the verge of popping out. The next moment, boom! Under the tremendous force, her colossal body soared into the sky, tracing a beautiful trajectory before disappearing from everyone's sight. What? His hand transformed. Miss Alvida was sent flying. His devil fruit power. The henchmen who had relied on Alvida's faux authority now wore terrified expressions. They quickly dropped to their knees, pleading for mercy. Boom! The hatch swung open, and Logan emerged. Hey? What's going on? Initially thinking it was Luffy demolishing the ship, Logan was surprised to find the deck so lively. Glancing at the sky, Lauren pondered, did something just get thrown out? The pirates' faces twitched involuntarily. Hey? Logan, you're out. Luffy rubbed his fists, a cheerful smile on his face. These guys tried to rob us, so I took care of their boss. Forgive us. We were coerced. Please spare us, we'll never turn to piracy again. Once again, the pirates pleaded for mercy. Okay. Get lost. Luffy had no grandiose plans, as long as they didn't bother him, he didn't mind. Ah! Thank you, brother. Thank you for your mercy. Let's go now. Wait a moment. At this point, Logan's words once again raised the anxiety levels of the pirates. He extended 2 fingers. Firstly, considering it was a skirmish on a pirate ship, you're free to leave, and all the treasures aboard are yours to keep. Secondly, we need someone knowledgeable about sailing to guide us to the next island. While Luffy exuded the aura of a protagonist, depending solely on him for navigation seemed a bit unreliable. As for Logan, well, that was out of the question. Now that they had encountered someone who could help, it was the perfect opportunity to address this issue. With Zoro waiting at the next destination, the journey could unfold according to the original plot. Loga had no interest in deviating from the established narrative, he just wanted a smooth ride. Me. I know a bit about sailing, exclaimed a small man from the crowd. He had a parted head and glasses, and his shout seemed to summon the courage of several lifetimes. Captured by the pirates and relegated to the role of a ship's handyman, he had long yearned for escape. However, under the oppressive shadow of Alvida, he lacked the courage to break free. Now, witnessing Alvida being blown away before his eyes, he understood that if he didn't seize this chance, he might never be free. Okay, it's you, Logan nodded, pleased to see the volunteer was Kobe. In the original comic plot, Luffy reached Shell's Town with Kobe's navigation. However, due to Logan's interference, Luffy missed meeting Kobe, and as a result, both Logan and Luffy found themselves adrift at sea. With Kobe's appearance now, it was clear that the plot was getting back on track. Comfortable. Everything was back to normal, and Logan could continue to lie down in peace. Chapter 12. After transferring all the treasures onto Logan's boat, Alvida's minions sailed away hastily, as if fleeing. Thank you so much. Kobe kowtowed on the deck to Logan and Luffy, expressing his gratitude. Only when it was confirmed that Alvida's ship had truly departed did Kobe allow himself to relax a bit. What are you doing? Luffy wore a puzzled expression, his face adorned with question marks. You are my saviors. Thanks to meeting you, I can escape from Alvida's shadow. Kobe looked up at Luffy, his face adorned with a grateful and flattering smile. Luffy, even more confused, scratched his head. Since you don't want to stay with her, why not find a chance to escape? Run away, run away? No. No, 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 impossible. No way. Every time I think of Ms. Alvida's mace, my legs go limp. Some horrifying memories seemed to resurface, causing Kobe, who had been communicating normally, to even stutter. His head was dripping with sweat, and his expression conveyed horror. Ah! It's terrible. Kobe was in a state of panic. Observing Kobe's reaction, Luffy placed his hands on his hips and, with a sincere smile, remarked, well, you are really stupid and useless, and you are also cowardly. Kobe's face turned into a display of distress. Why, oh why did you smile so sincerely while saying such hurtful things? Yes, cowardly people have no future. Kobe, don't you have any dream? Logan interjected. Dream? Kobe hesitated, his gaze drifting toward the pirate flag hanging on the mast. Don't even dare to say your own dream? Then you are really coward. Logan rested his chin and shook his head with a hint of resentment. Having known from the mangas that Kobe was cowardly, witnessing it firsthand made Logan realize that using the term cowardly to describe Kobe might be an understatement. It was like trying to build a wall with mud that couldn't support it. Logan's words seemed to touch a nerve in Kobe, awakening his last semblance of courage. Hey! Kobe took a deep breath, clenched his fist vigorously, a self-deprecating smile suddenly appeared on his face, and he said bitterly, can someone like me join the Marines? Marines? Luffy froze for a moment. Yes. Although I will become enemies with you, as a Marine, I will become stronger and catch all the bad guys. Speaking with newfound determination, Kobe, teary-eyed and sweating, shouted at the two people in front of him with an aura he had never used before, this has been my dream since I was a child. Look, it's actually not that difficult to shout out your dreams, hey. Logan walked up to Kobe, smiled, and patted his shoulder. Hey. Yeah, I feel much happier when I say it. The fear of Alvida in my heart seems to be reduced. Kobe felt that his breathing became smoother. Actually, if you have the courage, it is not difficult to realize your dreams. If I remember correctly, the marine base closest to here should be in Shell's Town. When you get there, join the Marines. More than half of your dream have been realized. As for the next road, it depends on you. Good luck with a character like Kobe. Logan had no intention of recruiting him into the group. Moreover, recruiting members into the team was the captain's decision. If there were no special circumstances, Logan did not want to deviate from the plot direction. If one element went awry, it could trigger a butterfly effect, and the Straw Hats might not be as cool as expected, impacting Logan as well. Really? Not long ago, he was a slave on Alvida's ship, and now he was on the verge of realizing his dream? Kobe couldn't believe this fact. But upon reflection, yes. Shell's Town was not far from here, and once he arrived there, joining the Marines meant he no longer had to worry about Alvida chasing him. You are right, Logan, thank you for the encouragement. Kobe's confidence increased, but the next moment his face showed worry again. But, are you willing to take me to Shell's Town? Logan shrugged. As long as you can navigate this ship to Shell's Town, we will get you there. I'm not going to lie, we're both sailing idiots. Hearing this, Kobe was excited. No problem, this voyage is on me. In the control cabin, Kobe carefully observed the ocean current while steering the ship. I found it. It's this ocean current. As long as you go straight along this stream, you will soon reach Shell's Town. After confirming the course, Kobe fixed the rudder. No further action was required until reaching the port. I wonder what Luffy and Logan are up to. With nothing to control for the time being, Kobe immediately thought of Luffy and Logan. After all, they were the first good guys he had encountered since growing up. Upon reaching the deck, he saw Luffy looking at something. Ah! Damn it! Can't defeat that guy. I'll try again. Hey? I just remembered, it was the last chance for today. Ah! It seems we'll have to wait until tomorrow. Luffy yelled in frustration. Luffy, are you reading mangas? Kobe moved closer, his eyes falling on the manga book in Luffy's hand. A little curious, he cautiously asked, can you let me see it? That won't work. I still need this manga for important things. If you lose it, I'll be in trouble. Luffy waved his hand and refused directly. Oh. Kobe didn't dare say anything more. About to leave timidly, he heard Luffy's hearty voice, but, if you want to read mangas, you can go to Logan. He has drawn a lot of mangas, there must be something you like. Is this drawn by Logan? Of course. He's a mangaka. Really? Logan is amazing. Well, you don't need to say this. Go, I will take you to him. With that said, Luffy took Kobe and entered the cabin. Soon, the two arrived at Logan's studio. Luffy. Pausing the paintbrush in his hand, Logan said suspiciously, you don't think you want another manga, do you? Hasn't a copy of Akame ga Kill cut off your interest yet? Luffy shook his head. Oh no. It's Kobe. He also wants to read mangas, so I brought him to you. So that's the way it is. Kobe, you can choose one yourself. Logan readily agreed. As a mangaka, Logan felt proud when more people read his mangas. While Logan had prevented Luffy from coming to his studio to avoid any potential destruction, it was not because he didn't want to share his mangas with Luffy. Ah! Thank you! Thank you! Kobe was very grateful. When he reached the bookshelf, he didn't dare to take too long, selecting one at random and quickly returning. Oh, that's right! Kobe, this manga is for you. Seeing Luffy and Kobe leaving, Logan suddenly realized that he would soon part ways with Kobe when they reached Shell's Town. Although Kobe's character was not the most pleasing, his interest in Logan's mangas hinted at a shared vision. It's just a manga, a parting gift. Upon hearing this, Kobe was deeply moved. He hadn't received a gift from others since childhood, and now he was not only rescued by Logan but also given a manga. Thank you, Logan. I promise I will cherish this manga. In his heart, Kobe had so much to express. This is a symbol of our friendship. Yet, he couldn't articulate it, fearing that he wasn't worthy of discussing friendship with Logan. But no matter what his thoughts, Kobe, in his heart, would always remember Logan's kindness. Chapter 13. Upon entering the cabin, Kobe carefully retrieved the manga book cradled in his arms. Book title Demon Slayer, Zenitsu. After perusing the first episode, Kobe was captivated. He discovered that the protagonist shared a striking resemblance to him in character, both timid and reserved. Wow, no. I thought Zenitsu was as timid as me. Unexpectedly, he's even more timid than me. Ah ha ha ha. He's so cute. If he wasn't a character in the mangas, I would definitely be able to become good friends with him. Chuckling heartily, Kobe continued reading. Bastards, these guys actually bully girls. It's over, the coward Zenitsu is the only one around these two girls. Observing the manga's plot, Kobe felt uneasy. He knew that if it were him, he definitely wouldn't dare to make a move. What's more, Zenitsu was even more timid than him. Anticipating a miserable fate for the two girls in the next chapter, Kobe turned to the next page. However, the image on the next page left Kobe in shock. Nanny. Kobe couldn't believe that the boy, who was evidently more cowardly than him, had actually stood up. He fought desperately with the bad guys, and despite being covered in bruises, he was finally knocked out. But he stood up. Kobe felt his cheeks burn hot. Just moments ago, he thought Zenitsu was more cowardly than him. But now, Zenitsu slapped Kobe hard with his actual actions. Made him understand. Zenitsu is a pure man. And the clown is only me. Kobe was in a state of depression for a long time before continuing to read. Then he saw the former Thunder Hashira Yaguro Kawahima accepted him as his apprentice. Kobe's eyes showed envy. How wonderful it would be if I could meet such a person. Crash. Ah! The howling of wild wolves resounded in his ears. The lingering mountain wind violently slapped Kobe's face, and the sensation was incredibly vivid. What? How? What happened? Momentarily bewildered, Kobe looked around. When he saw Zenitsu practicing in the cold wind and Jigoro Kawahima standing aside, carefully guiding him, he was completely stunned. Zenitsu. Rubbing his eyes vigorously, Kobe thought he was hallucinating. Then he slapped himself again. The hallucinations haven't gone away. No, this is not an illusion. Who are you? Jigoro Kawahima looked at Kobe, a little surprised. After all, he is the former Hashira of the Demon Slayer Corp. He is strong, needless to say. However, when the little guy in front of him appeared, he didn't feel anything before. It is a good seedling. My name is Kobe. Suddenly encountering this situation, Kobe panicked even more. Little guy, what are you doing here? Jigoro Kawahima became interested in Kobe and walked over slowly. He looked at Kobe's fearful and cowardly look. Wasn't he carved out of the same mold as Zenitsu? Moreover, to be able to follow here without the old man noticing, this is a talent. Yet, what am I doing here? No, I have no idea how I got here. Kobe was full of fear, not knowing what to say. Hey, do you also want to learn? At this time, Zenitsu asked curiously. Apart from wanting to learn, I really can't think of any other reason for being able to follow this deep into the mountain. Assassination? Stop it. Looking at it like this, you can tell it's impossible at a glance. Learn. Hearing what Zenitsu said, Kobe was taken aback for a moment. But then, a strong desire welled up in his heart. Yes. How wonderful it would be if I could also learn from this old man. Can I do it too? The lack of self-confidence from the inside out was evident on his face. Little guy, as long as you want to learn, of course, you can. Jigoro Kawahima came to Kobe, with a kind smile on his face, and he stretched out his hand to Kobe. Would you like to be my apprentice? I wish. I am willing. So flattered that Kobe's heart almost jumped out of his throat. Ha 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 ha. This is really good. Jigoro Kawahima pulled Kobe up, and he was in a great mood. Zenitsu also ran over. Haha, let me introduce myself, my name is Zenitsu, and I am your senior brother. Well, my name is Kobe. Thank you. Feeling the warmth of being valued by others, Kobe's tears flowed down immediately. Chapter 14. The next day, Luffy got up early and went to the deck, stretched his waist, and planned to enter the world of Akame ga Kill. But at this moment, Kobe's shout came, "Here we are. We have arrived at Shell's town." Have we arrived? Let me see. Luffy stretched out his hand to build a pergola in front of his eyes and looked towards the bow of the ship. Sure enough, the silhouette of an island had appeared ahead. Great! The pirate hunter you mentioned is here, right? When chatting with Kobe yesterday, Luffy learned that in this sea, there is a powerful swordsman named Roronoa Zoro, who is a bounty hunter by profession and specializes in catching pirates in exchange for bounties. Upon learning about such a formidable character, Luffy's immediate reaction was, "This person, I want him on my crew." If he hadn't escaped, he must still be there. While on Alvida's ship, Kobe read in the newspaper that Roronoa Zoro had been captured by Shell's Town Marine. It should have been several days. Great! I can't wait! Rubbing his hands together, Luffy was excited. Suddenly, he turned his head to look at Kobe, tilting his head. "You seem to have become more confident." When a person changes, the most undisguised thing is their confidence. Luffy could tell right away. "Ah!" Kobe chuckled and then said calmly, "Well, Luffy, do you know? I encountered a very miraculous thing. I actually got into the manga book that Logan gave me yesterday. I met two people inside, and even worshipped one of the old grandfathers as my teacher. There is also a young man who is as timid and cowardly as me. He is my senior brother. I feel that I have a very similar personality with him." Thinking of the adventure he had while reading mangas yesterday, Kobe's words flowed like a torrential river. Suddenly, he realized that he seemed to have been talking for a long time and stopped immediately. "I know, it must be difficult for you to believe what I said, but this is what really happened." "Ah ha ha ha! I believe what you said. Because I also entered the manga world." "What? Did you go into?" "Of course, this is a manga drawn by Logan, of course, you can enter it," Luffy explained, relying on his own imagination. Kobe suddenly realized, is this so? So, Logan actually knows that we have entered the manga world. That's for sure. Luffy seemed to have figured everything out. He patted Kobe on the shoulder and said, "Logan is a powerful man. His manga has magical powers. I think he made this manga for me, it's just tailor-made for me." "Exactly." As if he had found a confidant all of a sudden, Kobe nodded again and again. "Yes, this manga book I took is also super suitable for me. It is just specially drawn for me. To tell you the truth, I was still thinking about whether to ask Logan about it. No use it." Luffy understood again. With his hands on his hips, he looked like he was pointing out, "Let me tell you, I've already done what you want to do." As a result, before I even opened my mouth, Logan knew everything. So, you asking will only delay his drawing time. Ahaha, yes. I'm so stupid. Since Logan's manga has such a magical ability, how could he not know about it? I'm really grateful to him. Kobe scratched his head and said embarrassedly. Then, he turned his head to look towards the bow of the ship, and the island was already in front of him. "Here we are, do you want to call Logan to get off the boat together?" "That's a must." Luffy took a stride, loosened his muscles, and rushed into the cabin with a whoosh. "Is this the island where Shell's Town is located?" Called out by Luffy, Logan stood at the bow of the boat and looked at the coastline that was getting closer and closer. Speaking of which, it's a bit sad. It has been a year since his travel, and this is the first time Logan has seen the land of the pirate world. The tall croaking tree and the huge marine base, which belong to the unique landscape style of the One Piece world, suddenly rushed forward. I have to say that Logan likes this style very much. Marine Base East Blue Sub-Base, Branch 153 is located on this island. What do you hear? Here is the Marine Base, which represents justice, so the lives of the people should be very healthy. But in fact, as the base commander of this base, Captain Morgan, is a guy who was once killed the captain of the Black Cat Pirates, Kuro. In a marine conflict between marine and pirate, Morgan became the only survivor. Kuro uses his partner hypnosis technique to Morgan, so that Kuro can escape from and become a dead man. As for Morga, killing the pirate Kuro, he got promoted to the base chief of section 153. Then began his tyranny over this place. Not only are the civilians on the entire island living under the shadow of his rule, but even the marine soldiers are worried every day because if they don't pay attention, they may be hacked and killed by Morgan at will. According to Kabi's information, Zoro should be locked in the marine base at this time. Let's go. Find that man named Roronoa Zoro. Luffy grinned and jumped off the boat first. Come on, let's get off the boat too. Logan said, and walked down the string bridge. Kobe followed suit. Chapter 15. After setting foot on the ground of Shell's Town, the three of them first went to fill their stomachs and then came to the vicinity of branch 153. Logan looked up at the tall marine base building. The body of the building is like a bunker, with green camouflage stripes and cannons on the top, which seems to be full of a strong sense of oppression. Since the pirate hunter named Zoro has been caught here, I'll climb up to have a look first. Walking to the wall, Luffy reached out his hand. Whoosh! The attributes of the rubber man allowed him to climb up the wall immediately. Hey! I seem to have found it. As soon as he got on the wall, Luffy let out a surprise, and then he stretched out his hands and pulled Logan and Kobe up. 3 people sat in a row on the wall. What? Kobe wasn't ready yet, and when he caught sight of the man in the middle of the square, he uttered a horrified cry and fell off the wall. Luffy looked confused. What's the matter, Kobe? Black hood, green girdle, really Roronoa Zoro. Okay, so intimidating, then, that's Zoro. Although Kobe's strength has improved somewhat, he has not reached the level of transformation after all. The moment he saw Zoro's face clearly, the cowardice in his heart was aroused again. Is he really the pirate hunter Zoro you mentioned? But it seems that the rope is easy to break. Luffy became more and more puzzled. Isn't it said that Zoro is a devilish pirate hunter? How could he be tied up with such a thin rope and be helpless? Don't be kidding. If you let that guy escape, not only will the people in the town be in bad situation, but even you will be killed. Kobe still knows Shell's town very well, and he knows how terrifying Captain Morgan is. But at this moment, Zoro, who was tied to the cross, raised his head. Hey, boy over there. Come and help me, untie this rope, please. I have been tied for 9 days, and I am too tired gone. Speak. Kobe, who had just climbed up again, shrank his head subconsciously when he heard Zoro's words. Look, that guy is smiling. Luffy sat with his legs up and his legs up, watching curiously with his chin resting on his hands. Luffy, didn't you say you wanted to invite him to the crew? Why don't you go over there? Logan reminded. Luffy remained unmoved. Kobe said he was a big devil, so I haven't figured it out yet. Just as he was talking, a wooden ladder leaned against the wall next to the 3 of them. Then a little girl climbed up. SHH. The little girl made a silent gesture to the 3, and then slid down the fence. Kobe shouted nervously, Hey! What is she going to do? Get close to that person and she will be killed. I don't think so. Logan said with certainty. Why? Luffy turned his head and asked curiously. Logan shrugged. As you know, I am a mangaka, so my ability to associate is very strong. Judging from this scene, I guess this little girl is here to repay her kindness. Repaying kindness? Impossible. Kobe looked suspicious. That is the pirate hunter known as the devil. What kindness could he do to a little girl? Don't believe me? Then let's ask. With that said, Logan jumped off the fence and followed the little girl towards Zoro. Although he has no output, his speed and defense are ridiculously high. There is nothing to say about self-preservation ability. Ah? Do you want to go in? Seeing Logan go in, Kobe was immediately deserted. Hey, Luffy, why don't you? Seeing that Luffy followed suit, Kobe almost cried. He looked left and right, finally mustered up the courage, and followed. You are looking for death, brat. Get out of here. Zoro glanced at the little girl who came to him, and said fiercely. However, the little girl seemed indifferent to his fake ruthlessness, her dark eyes were full of light. I made rice balls for you. Big brother has been tied up all the time, he must be very hungry. I said I'm not hungry. Hurry up and take the things away. Zoro yelled again. Luffy's face became gloomy, and he rubbed his arms. I want to punch someone now. Wait. Don't you want to ask why this little girl brought Zoro food first? Logan grabbed Luffy's face and pulled him back. It seems reasonable. Certainly. Here's a revised version of the conversation. Luffy paused, eyeing the little girl. Why are you giving him rice balls? Don't blame him. Big brother is actually a good guy, the girl explained eagerly. She launched into an incessant explanation. About 10 days prior, a wolf raised by Captain Morgan's bully son, Helmeppo, had nearly bitten the little girl. Zoro swooped in, dispatching the wolf and confronting Helmeppo. Initially, Zoro could have departed, but Helmeppo had threatened retaliation against the little girl's family if he left. To resolve the situation, Zoro struck a deal. He would willingly be tied to a cross for a month in exchange for absolving the issue. Nanny. Luffy's anger dissipated upon understanding the truth. He approached Zoro. Hey, kid. Why the stare? Zoro's gaze remained intense. Luffy faced Zoro, boldly declaring, Hey, I'm Luffy. I'll untie you and you can join me as my crew. Ah? Luffy. He's a notorious devil. Kobe interjected, alarmed by Luffy's directness. Read ahead at Patreon/Golden Garuda. Chapter 16. Hey? Pirates. Zoro expressed surprise. Please. I won't stoop to becoming a pirate. Zoro immediately refused the offer to join the pirates. What's wrong with being a pirate? It's my dream. Luffy spread his hands, changing the subject. Besides, being labeled a villain doesn't change much. I'm not like you. You can find someone else. Even if you don't help me untie the rope, I'll manage as long as I stay here for a month, Zoro stated firmly, shaking his head. In Zoro's view, pirates were despicable, a belief reinforced by his encounters with many of them. Luffy rubbed his chin in contemplation. This seems a bit tricky to handle. Why can't it be more like Logan? Luffy pondered. Suddenly, thoughts of Logan crossed Luffy's mind. Luffy, just don't bother him about it, it's hard to convince idiot like him. Logan said. Those words triggered an immediate response from Zoro. Hey! What did that jerk say about me? Yet? Logan, how did you figure out he is an idiot? Luffy chimed in, also curious. Didn't he just say that? He's trusting Helmeppo to honor his word after threatening innocent lives? That's just idiotic, Logan calmly explained. After contemplating for a moment, Luffy nodded in agreement. Exactly. Anyone who can use innocent lives as leverage can't be trusted to keep his promise. Hearing their words, Zoro's heart raced. It seemed increasingly true. Yet, having endured for 9 days, Zoro remained steadfast, refusing to admit he'd made a foolish decision. No way. I struck a deal with him. If I don't endure these 30 days he will let me go, Zoro stubbornly insisted. Hey! What a lively scene! A dapper young man with bobbed hair entered the square with a few marine soldiers. Don't you dare move! The man commanded. Have you seen this sign? He gestured to a notice board. It clearly states that anyone aiding the prisoner will be treated as an accomplice. Pointing at the little girl, he added with a smug smile, even the little girl. Logan glanced back. Ah, perfect. The captain foolish son has arrived to stir things up. He spoke up, addressing Helmeppo. Hey! Helmeppo! You never intended to let Zoro go from the start, did you? Hey! How dare you speak to a young master in such a manner? Helmeppo's frown deepened as he glared at Logan. Then, a maniacal grin crept across his face. Ha ha ha! But you're right. This fool believed my lies and willingly remained tied up in this square for 9 days. In truth, I plan to execute him in 3 days, just before he starves to death. I want him to understand the consequences of crossing a young master like me. And now, there's you. Talking to him, that is a capital offense. Boom! Luffy's fist collided with Helmeppo's face, causing several of his teeth to scatter through the air. Withdrawing his fist, Luffy placed his hands on his hips and gazed at Helmeppo lying on the ground. Logan was right. You've been deceiving Zoro from the start. Zoro's eyes widened in surprise. Helmeppo shook his head, the stars in front of him gradually fading away. He groaned and managed to form words, shouting in shock and anger, Ah! How dare you hit me? Kill them! Several marine soldiers raised their guns, but Luffy's swift punches knocked them to the ground. Helmeppo was dumbfounded, then he fiercely threatened, I'll tell my dad. You're all dead! Snapped. Stepping down with one foot, Logan stepped on all of Helmeppo's facial features together, not Luffy this time, but Logan himself. Approaching Helmeppo, Logan knelt down slowly, observing the bleeding Helmeppo in front of him. He pointed at Helmeppo and spoke flatly, Why are you bringing your father in front of someone like Luffy? Wait, Logan, don't act rashly. His father is Captain Morgan, the most influential figure in Shell's town, Kobe intervened, restraining Logan from escalating the situation. Hearing Kobe's words, Helmeppo became increasingly terrified. That's right. My father is a captain in the Marines. He's the supreme authority in all of Shell's town. You're finished. Logan glanced at Helmeppo with a tinge of sympathy, shaking his head slightly. You're a frog in a well. Just because your father is a mere Marine captain doesn't make you all-powerful, Logan retorted, uninterested in explaining anything further. He then raised his head and swiftly knocked Helmeppo unconscious with a punch. Chapter 17. You guys are pretty gutsy. You know, if you weren't pirates, I might like you a bit. Zoro's perspective on Luffy and Logan began to shift as he watched them take down Helmeppo one after another. But he still couldn't shake off his deep-rooted reservations about pirates. It felt like a pig butcher who had spent years slaughtering pigs suddenly being asked by a pig to be its crew. Would the butcher agree? However, this time, Zoro encountered a persistent pig. I like you too. Join me as my crew. Luffy invited Zoro once again, uninterrupted by Helmeppo's protests. I have my own path to follow. I'm not interested in becoming a pirate and being a villain. Zoro firmly declined. I've never strayed from my beliefs, and I won't in the future. I don't care. I've already decided that you'll be my crew. Luffy seemed innocuous. Zoro felt a mix of confusion and frustration. Hey! Stop deciding on your own. By the way, I heard you're skilled with sword, Luffy calmly asked, seemingly oblivious to Zoro's exasperation. Yes, I truly would have shown you, if I hadn't been tied up, Zoro lamented. What about your sword? Luffy inquired. That bastard took it. Zoro gestured towards the grounded Helmeppo. Recalling his sensei and Kuina, Zoro gritted his teeth. That sword is as precious to me as life itself. Oh. That's important. Luffy's face lit up with a mischievous grin. All right, I'll help you retrieve the sword from that guy. Thank you. I'll remember this favor, Zoro acknowledged gratefully. Zoro nodded, thankful that Luffy was helping with his sword situation. Luffy grabbed Helmeppo from the ground and raised him up. Crackling sounds filled the air as Helmeppo slowly regained consciousness amidst a burst of crisp, melodic applause. Hey, did you take Zoro's sword? Luffy questioned. Hey. Helmeppo paused, then nodded groggily. I did take it. Great. Take me to where the sword is. Without hesitation, Luffy sprinted towards the marine base, dragging Helmeppo along. Oh, and remember, if you want the sword, you have to be my crew. Luffy shouted back at Zoro before dashing off. Hearing this, Zoro was stunned for a moment before his features twisted in disbelief. Hey! That's so underhanded. Since you agreed, I'm off. Luffy yelled without looking back, disappearing into the distance with Helmeppo in tow. What? Who agreed? Hey, wait! Zoro shouted after Luffy, but it was futile. Is he really going to break into the marine base? Aren't you going to stop him? Zoro turned to Logan, suddenly concerned. That's the marine base. Breaking in means certain death. Zoro reminded urgently. Logan grinned. You seem to care a lot for your crew. Crew? Zoro protested. Hey! Don't label me like that. I can't be crews with pirates. If you don't stop him, you won't have a captain. Ah, worried about your own captain, hey. Logan chuckled, patting Zoro on the shoulder. I get your worry. I'll go check it out. Despite Luffy's strength, Logan thought it best to handle the matter of breaking into the marine base alone. Having him there would at least ensure Luffy's safety. Soon, amidst Helmeppo's protests, the two vanished through the front gate. Hey? Luffy and Logan broke in. Kobe, seemingly taken aback, voiced his surprise. Zoro nodded with a sigh. Yeah, those two are causing a ruckus as usual. Upon witnessing Kobe's actions, he promptly cautioned, if you undo my restraints, you'll meet the same fate. Struggling, Kobe's countenance tightened as he persisted in untying the rope. Through gritted teeth, he uttered, they've no grounds to detain you. I can't stand seeing the Marines act this way. In the future, I must embody the dream of an honorable Marine, just as Luffy aspires to find One Piece. What? One Piece? Are you serious? Zoro's expression twisted in disbelief. Boom! In that instant, a bullet swiftly pierced through Kobe. What? With a cry, Kobe collapsed to the ground. How dare you defy Captain Morgan's orders and attempt to rescue the pirate hunter? Several Marine soldiers emerged from a nearby door, brandished their weapons at the three individuals left at the execution site. Ah! I've been shot. I'm bleeding. Am I going to die? Kobe lay on the ground, hands soaked in blood, wearing a look of utter despair. You're still alive. Zoro was left speechless. This person seemed excessively timid. Suddenly realizing something, he turned away, shouting to Kobe, "Get up and escape with her." Escape? Captain Morgan is already aware of this situation. None of you should stay here. Even this little girl. The Marines admonished. Big brother, let me untie the rope for you. The young girl lacked a precise understanding of the danger, her only focus was on rescuing her older brother, ignorant of the risk involved. Stop! That's a serious offense. A Marine soldier yelled, aiming the gun at the little girl. Observing the girl's attempt, Zoro shouted, "No, they'll shoot." Nevertheless, the little girl showed no intention of halting, her small hand had already gripped the knot. Caw 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 caw. The distinct sound of the safety lock being released resonated. The barrel of the gun was now directed at the little girl's back, a menacing black hole waiting. Ah! Give me the sword! Zoro, gripped by urgency, shouted at Kobe. Sword! Sword! In a state of confusion, Kobe's thoughts raced. Subconsciously, he extended his hand and brushed against the scabbard of a fallen Marine soldier nearby. Sword! Sword! Ah! I can use a sword too! Damn it! How dare you defy Captain Morgan's orders? We can't even tolerate a little girl. Otherwise, Captain Morgan will have us killed. One final warning. This isn't good. I need to save her. Ignoring the pain from the gunshot, Kobe's face displayed intense anxiety. Breathe, breathe, yes, Master taught me. Breath of thunder. Stubborn, shoot. After 2 warnings, a Marine soldier clenched his teeth and commanded. But in that very moment, whoosh! A streak of blinding white light. Like lightning breaching the barrier. Bang 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 bang. Several Marine soldiers lost consciousness before they could comprehend what had occurred. Chapter 18. Bang 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 bang. Zoro stood in dumbfounded shock as the Marine soldiers collapsed to the ground. His gaping mouth nearly reached the floor. After a while, he gazed at Kobe in disbelief. You're a formidable swordsman. Moments ago, he had regarded Kobe as overly timid. But in the blink of an eye, Kobe revealed his true prowess. Hey! Kobe panted heavily, sweat pouring down. Yesterday, in the world of Demon Slayer, Zenitsu, he had practiced the breath of thunder with Jigoro Kawahima. Despite not yet mastering the fundamental technique, his current grasp of thunder's breath proved more than sufficient to handle a few Marine soldiers. Me! Kobe winced as he approached, his face drained of color. While using the sword to free Zoro, he explained, "Truth be told, I'm a useless fool. If I hadn't crossed paths with Logan and Luffy, I might have remained a slave to someone else forever. Having this kind of strength would have been even more unimaginable." Slave? Zoro was puzzled. Kobe nodded, "Yes. Just yesterday, I was a handyman on Alvida's ship, trapped with no chance of escape. It was Logan and Luffy who rescued me. Pirates saving lives?" The notion struck a chord in Zoro's heart. Over the years, he had encountered countless pirates, each more nefarious than the last. But a saving pirate? A concept he hadn't encountered before. Is this really a reality? Why not utilize your incredible swordsmanship skills to escape? Zoro couldn't fathom the lightning-fast lethal move Kobe had just executed. You're so powerful, yet you're content being subservient to others. Even if you can't defeat Alvida, wouldn't finding an opportunity to flee be straightforward? No. Didn't I just mention that? I began learning swordsmanship only after being rescued by Logan yesterday. What? Zoro's eyes widened. You've just begun learning swordsmanship yesterday, and you've already at this level. Every move he made emitted sparks and lightning. What kind of uncanny talent was this? No. You mean, you just started learning swordsmanship yesterday? Zoro, feeling perplexed, asked again. Kobe nodded, affirming, "Yes. I learned it from a manga book created by Logan." A manga book? Zoro was incredulous. What do you mean, manga books, regarding swordsmanship? Oh, right. I was as shocked as you are, Kobe replied. Logan is a manga artist who possesses the manga fruit. His drawn manga can be entered, and I acquired this swordsmanship from one of those worlds. Upon hearing Kabi's explanation, Zoro's breathing quickened. Devil fruit. Although he'd never seen one, he'd certainly heard of it. If it's due to the devil fruit, then any sort of magic seems plausible. I see. Kabi glanced at Zoro and continued, if you also wish to enter the manga world to master swordsmanship, you could join their pirate crew. Logan is incredibly kind. He helped a destitute fellow like me, I'm sure he'd be willing to help you too. Entering the manga world to learn swordsmanship. Zoro was genuinely thrilled. Hey? What just happened here? Logan's voice snapped Zoro out of his reverie. Glancing at the extra marine soldiers on the ground and the untied Zoro, Logan immediately grasped the situation. Zoro gazed at Logan before him. This was the person who had transformed Kabi into a formidable swordsman in just one day. Then, Luffy's exuberant voice cut in between Zoro and Logan. Hey! Take a look, which one's yours? Luffy held out 3-sword and inquired. The 3-sword are all mine. I use a 3-sword style, Zoro asserted, moving to claim the sword. However, Luffy, not allowing Zoro to take them unchallenged, grinned and stated, it's settled. Take the sword, and you're my crew. No Zoro reply. Oh, in that case, let's set sail. Luffy nodded solemnly and tugged Logan away. Hey! My sword. Zoro hurried to catch up and grabbed Luffy. What sword? Isn't this my plunder from the Marines? Luffy stated seriously, glancing at Logan. Logan nodded, raising his hand. That's correct. It's your spoils. I bear witness. Zoro felt disheartened. But, it did seem to be true. He had lost his sword, which he should reclaim from the Marines. The sword in Luffy's possession was indeed seized from the Marines. What justification did Zoro have to demand its return? As he watched the two depart, Zoro contemplated. Suddenly, he shouted, Hey, Luffy! I heard you're aiming to become the king of the pirates. Hey? Who leaked that news? Luffy turned, one hand picking his nose. Unbelievable. Picking his nose and then touching my sword? Cough, Luffy, I meant. Kabi cautiously raised his hand, wearing an apologetic expression. With Luffy's confirmation, Zoro assumed a stance. Hey, future king of the pirates, let's have a fight. Chapter 19. Hey! Future king of the pirates, fight with me. Upon hearing these challenging words, Luffy was instantly invigorated, spinning around abruptly. Without wasting a moment, he hurled the 3-sword he held directly at Zoro, eagerly asking, I win, and you'll join me. Zoro skillfully caught the 3-sword and reattached them to his belt, treating it with reverence as if it were his beloved wife. Then, the 3-sword were unsheathed. Engaging in the 3-sword style using hands and mouth, Zoro raised his head, emitting a fierce fighting spirit. Let's discuss things if you can win. Then it's settled. Luffy grinned and immediately launched a straight punch. Gomu no pistol. His arm extended like rubber, aiming directly for Zoro's chest. Swift as a rabbit, Zoro leaped from the ground, narrowly evading the rubber fist. The wind generated by the punch tousled Zoro's hood. Closing the gap between them, Zoro darted toward Luffy. Naitoryu, Nijiri. In an instant, Zoro wielded the 2 swords horizontally, dashing at an incredible speed. The glinting blades traced arcs in the air, slashing toward Luffy's waist like scenes from a rapid-paced film. Wow! That's incredible! Luffy's eyes widened as he extended his legs and leaped, skillfully evading Zoro's strike. Despite his dodge, Luffy remained assertive. Gomu no Muki, whip. As the roll concluded, Luffy's rubbery limbs stretched out, aiming to pull Zoro closer. Zoro countered the blow and swiftly maneuvered, closing the distance with Luffy once more. Well done! Luffy exclaimed, abandoning evasion and instead bellowing loudly. Gomu no Gatling. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. His fists moved like the wind, raining down relentlessly. The punches were lightning fast, each creating an elongated illusion, as if an onslaught of countless fists were overwhelming Zoro in that moment. Mito Stream. Zoro's vigorous shout accompanied the 3 blades slicing through the air, methodically countering Luffy's barrage. Santorio Onigiri. The 2 swords slashed while the third blocked the path of Luffy's escape. Zoro's movements were swift, charging towards Luffy's exposed back. Wow! Luffy extended his long arms to grasp the nearby fence, swiftly pulling himself aside. Swish! The lingering wind from Zoro's slashes tore through the air. Crash! The wooden cross behind Luffy splintered into 3 pieces. Wow! That was a close call. Luffy rubbed his arm. Despite his timely reaction, he still felt the impact of Zoro's slashing wind. No bloodshed but a tingling sensation lingered in his feet. Awesome! You managed to evade my onigiri. I'm starting to recognize your strength, Zoro declared, exerting his strength. Irrespective of whether Zoro was exceptionally strong, each of his moves carried immense force. Incredible! Now that the warm-up's done, I'm getting serious, Luffy affirmed, ready to give his all. Luffy shook his arms and approached Zoro confidently. Over? You're calling what just happened a warm-up? Zoro spun around, incredulous. Are you kidding me? You still have that much strength left? Yes. Luffy replied with a smirk, stepping forward. What? Logan, observing the battle, widened his eyes in shock and muttered, no way? Isn't this move? Curious, he heard Luffy shout, gear change. Second gear. Puff. Logan coughed out an old gulp. What on earth? What's happening? As a dedicated manga fan, Logan distinctly remembered that Luffy first utilized the second gear during the Ice Lobby battle. But where was this happening now? Is this really the second gear? Taking a deep breath, Logan tried to comprehend the situation. Could it be, the world's version of Luffy was trained earlier? Even though Logan couldn't quite grasp the situation, upon reflection, wasn't this a fortunate turn of events? If Luffy's advancements began earlier, then he could progress more steadily toward the climax. With a loud yell from Luffy, steam billowed out of his body, and his skin turned a fiery red. The momentum of Luffy surged dramatically, transforming him into an entirely different persona. Just a warm-up earlier. Zoro wiped the remaining sweat from his face, eyes wide with astonishment as he observed Luffy. Facing the previous version of Luffy, Zoro hadn't sensed much. But now, he felt as though he stood before a fierce, unleashed beast, ready to explode with tremendous force at any moment. There was an unmistakable aura of strength emanating from Luffy, only seen in the mighty. My strength now is not what it was before. I'm about to get serious. You better brace yourself for this strike, Luffy announced, rubbing his fists together, assuming a stance like a released beast. As he lifted his head, the gleam in his eyes was razor sharp. All right. The stronger you are, the more I relish it. Such battles are the most thrilling. Zoro clenched his teeth, tightly gripping the two-sword, focusing all his attention on the impending clash. Santoryu Toragari. Engage. Zoro unleashed his mightiest blows yet, the two-sword lights slashing through the sky. If you're a monster, then I am the monster hunter. Toragari. Sword light and shadow intertwined in a chilling display. Zoro aimed for Luffy's silhouette. But reality often veers from the ideal. Whoosh! With the speed surge from the second gear, Luffy left only an afterimage for Zoro and leaped into the air. Gomu Gomu no Jet Bazooka! Boom! Before the sound echoed, Luffy's attack struck. Zoro sensed it but had no time to counter. A resounding crash. Chapter 20. On the cracked ground, Zoro lay sprawled, leaving behind a visible mark. Will you be my crew this time? Luffy approached, extending a friendly hand to Zoro. Wait. I haven't lost yet. Among the fissures on the ground, Zoro didn't accept Luffy's hand. Gritting his teeth, he staggered to his feet. His gaze remained resolute. Come on, let's fight again. Hey! Observing Zoro's bruised face, Luffy scratched his head, shaking it. No need, I'm in second gear now, and my moves are entirely overwhelming. If you couldn't block my last strike, another round won't change the outcome. The gap between Luffy in the second gear and his earlier self was substantial. Unable to halt a single blow, infuriating. How can I, Zoro, be this weak? Desire for strength fueled Zoro. Clutching his two-sword, he shouted, I can still fight. He lifted his foot, retrieved the third sword from the ground, and clenched it between his teeth. Don't fight, Luffy shook his head emphatically. You can't continue like this. I believe the winner is clear. Why persist? No. Luffy, keep fighting him. At that moment, Logan's voice caught Luffy's attention. What? Luffy was intrigued, gazing at Logan in confusion. But he can't handle my attacks anymore. If you call it off now, isn't that risking ending someone's fight? Logan's tone grew serious. He looked at Luffy intently. Remember, never dismiss a heart that yearns to grow stronger. Initially, Logan intended to let events unfold naturally and follow the storyline. However, observing the clash between Zoro and Luffy, he sensed something amiss. In this moment, Luffy and Zoro had just met, unaware of each other's personalities. But as a time traveler, Logan understood each individual's nature. If Luffy declined Zoro's continued challenge today, it might lead to discord between them. If Zoro wasn't part of this crew, could it rightfully be called the Straw Hat Pirates? No, it couldn't. Luffy. Engage him in a fight. Logan's demeanor turned serious as he pointed at Zoro, urging Luffy on. Never dismiss a strong heart. Fight him. Yes. Understanding the significance, Zoro gratefully nodded at Logan. His eyes sharpened, fixed on Luffy. Come on, let's fight again. Driven by those words, Zoro's emotions surged, his entire being ablaze with fighting spirit. All right, understood. Despite his usual carefree demeanor, Luffy sensed the fervor Zoro sought in this moment. It wasn't just about fighting, it was about perseverance. As a sign of respect, Zoro, I won't hold back. The question of crewship momentarily faded, Luffy now saw only a rival in Zoro's eyes. As Luffy unleashed his Gomu Gomu no twin jet pistol, Zoro braced himself and miraculously managed to block the onslaught. He crossed his swords, using the flat sides to intercept Luffy's fists. Boom! An earth-shattering collision followed, exerting immense force onto the blades. In the next moment, disaster struck. The sword shattered under the overwhelming impact. The aftermath of Luffy's assault hit Zoro directly. Boom! Zoro was propelled like a cannonball, crashing into a distant wall. Sliding along it, he slumped into a corner, the area descending into an eerie silence. Kabi's eyes widened in horror, while the young girl covered her mouth in shock, unable to utter a word. Logan's gaze narrowed, his mind racing with thoughts. Standing still, fists clenched, Luffy gazed earnestly at Zoro, breaking the silence after a while. It's over. But in that very moment, Zoro, who appeared lifeless, defiantly lifted one arm and retrieved the sword from his mouth. This simple movement seemed to drain his last ounce of strength. He pressed the tip of the sword against the ground, the arm holding it trembling with effort. Clearly, Zoro was exerting every ounce of effort to rise again. You. Even Luffy was stunned by this determination. Logan breathed deeply, emotions stirring within him. The man before him. There were so many memorable moments, especially the resolute phrase uttered at Thriller Bark, still vivid in Logan's memory. As for why Zoro persisted, Logan could only say, that's just Zoro. I haven't lost yet. This time, Zoro gripped the handle of the Wado Ikemonji sword with both hands, straining as if he was borrowing life itself to stand once more. Clearly unable to fight any longer, he even needed the support of the sword just to stand upright. I have a question. Luffy calmly looked at Zoro, prompting him to speak. Speaking at this moment was excruciatingly difficult for Zoro. His mouth moved slightly, signal Luffy to continue. What keeps you going? Had it been any other question, Zoro might have refrained from speaking. But this question. Enduring intense pain, Zoro lowered his head, gazing at the sword Wado Ikemonji in his hand, displaying a resolute smile. Because I once made a promise to someone. I promised her that I would become the world's greatest swordsman. As he spoke, Zoro seemed to drift back to a few years ago. Under the starlit sky, the girl sat beside him, clutching her knees, tearfully expressing her longing. I envy you being a boy. I also want to become the world's greatest swordsman. Now that she was gone, he held onto her sword. It carried her dream. I promised her that until I fulfill that promise, I. With a heavy sigh, Zoro's face grew paler, almost devoid of color, yet he still bellowed desperately with all his might, will never fall. Chapter 21. Zoro's charisma was what drew Logan to admire Zoro through the actions depicted in the mangas. But witnessing this, his determination, his willpower. Logan clenched his fist. This. What kind of true man is this? Zoro, join my crew. Luffy didn't utter another word, but reached out and grabbed Zoro's hand. Zoro remained silent. The earlier shout had drained every ounce of his strength. At that moment, he could barely summon the energy to breathe. Boom! Zoro slumped unconscious onto Luffy's arms. Thud, thud, thud. The synchronized sound of boots hitting the ground echoed as a sizable group of marine soldiers stormed into the square, encircling Logan and the others. Stand behind me. Kobe pulled the little girl protectively behind him, emboldened by the previous shot he fired. Don't move, hands up. Marines aimed their guns at Luffy, Logan, and Kobe, shouting loudly in unison. Then, the soldiers parted, allowing a tall, robust man to step forward from the midst, a man with an axe replacing the lower part of his right forearm. Captain! Captain! The marine soldiers showed a mix of reverence and fear upon seeing Morgan. Just a few troublemakers, and you disrupt my affairs in person. Morgan's presence was imposing. Reaching the front, he noticed several soldiers lying on the ground. Infuriated, he bellowed, "Bring them here, execute all these men on the ground." Ah! They are Marines. Captain! The marine soldiers surrounding Morgan reacted with shocked exclamations. A chilling aura emanated from Morgan's demeanor, his lips curled slightly as he spoke with icy eyes. Captain Morgan has no use for subordinates who are worthless. Fire! Morgan's fierce gaze fixed on the Marines by his side. These soldiers, sensing the suffocating atmosphere, hastily raised their guns, pointing them at their fellow Marines on the ground. Get lost! But then, Luffy's thunderous roar reverberated through the square, shaking the very ground Morgan stand. Nanny! Morgan's expression contorted fiercely, he rubbed his ears incredulously, slowly turning to face Luffy, his tone arrogant. Did you just tell me, Captain Morgan, to get lost? Hiss! Marine soldiers collectively gasped, looking at Luffy as if he were a monster. To dare speak such words to Captain Morgan! It's madness! They expected Morgan to strike Luffy down in an instant. Yet, before that could happen, a sharp, thunderous slap resounded through the air. Clap! Morgan's expression of invincibility shattered instantly under the unexpected slap. An expression of wide-eyed disbelief replaced his arrogant demeanor. As Morgan glanced up, he saw a figure standing before him. You heard that loud and clear now. It wasn't Luffy confronting Morgan, but it was Logan. Despite lacking direct offensive capabilities, his speed and defensive skills were formidable. Within a small region like East Blue, he possessed certain unscrupulous advantages. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted from Zoro's inspirational persistence to the absurd display by Morgan. His actions were irritating, resembling someone who intentionally portrayed ignorance. The act of pretending, when not needed, was infuriating. What? Morgan had spun, shaking off the dizziness, finally regaining clear vision without double images. When he focused on Logan before him, rage boiled within him. You fool! You're asking for death! A ferocious expression emerged on Morgan's muscled face. He swung his right arm, the sharp axe glinting menacingly under the sunlight. Intent on severing Logan's head in one swift strike, punishment fitting for anyone daring to defy Morgan. And this individual had the audacity to slap him. Die! Die, damn it! Swish! The razor-sharp axe sliced through the air, aimed directly at Logan's head. Logan! Logan! Almost simultaneously, Luffy and Kobe shouted out loud. In a split second, one of Luffy's arms extended rapidly, trying to seize hold of Logan and violently pulling him backward. Kobe rushed forward, attempting to rescue Logan. Confronted with Morgan's axe, Logan remained remarkably composed, almost finding it amusing. As he raised his head, he considered catching the axe barehanded. After all, his defensive capabilities were formidable. Though untested, Logan estimated his defense to be on par with Big Mom's steel bone. Swoosh! Before Logan's hand could catch the axe blade, he felt a rush of wind on both sides and suddenly found himself standing beside Luffy. Wipe! Logan was somewhat bewildered. He intended to defense but was kindly pulled back by Luffy. Hold on to Zoro and protect him. Luffy! Thrust Zoro into Logan's arms and leap up. Logan preferred to lie back and watch his captain's performance quietly. Morgan swung the axe down onto the ground, creating an explosive effect with scattered gravel, yet he staggered and fell himself, looking rather pathetic. Asshole! His lips quivered with anger as he struggled to rise, but suddenly, he noticed another looming shadow overhead. What's happening? It's a sunny day, where's this shade coming from? Subconsciously, Morgan gazed up at the sky. Hey! What's this? Something huge obstructed the sunlight, yet from his angle, he couldn't discern the whole image. However, his ears could unmistakably catch Luffy's bellow from above. Hone Fusen, Bone Balloon. Chapter 22. With a puff, Logan sipped his salt soda and sprayed it all over Zoro's face. What on earth? Third gear? Luffy just arrived at Shell's town, and not only the second gear but now the third gear too? Luffy's power are way too grand. Perfect. The bigger the power, the better my spot for lounging. At this rate, could we expect to see the fifth gear before reaching Sabayati Archipelago? Imagine the spectacle when Kizaru makes his descent. Visualizing Kizaru's ostentatious entrance, Logan thought he deserved a good thrashing. When the time comes, our Luffy will show you what real terror is. Gomu Gomu no Gigant Pistol. Midair, Luffy bit his finger and blew a bone balloon. Then, with a fist descending from the sky, he slammed it down with a resounding crash. Boom! The ground of Shell's town seemed to quake. Many young girls walking nearby were shaken and fell to the ground, their skirts fluttering. At the marine base square, the earth roared and the ground splintered. After the dust settled, Morgan lay amidst the rubble, broken and battered, even his broad axe gone. Wow! That was incredible! Kabi's eyes widened, as if he had witnessed a monster, his eyeballs nearly popping out. Luffy landed on the ground, his oversized fist returning to its normal size, his expression unusually serious. He cast a cold glance at the marine soldiers around him and questioned, anyone else want to try? The soldiers exchanged looks, their expressions transforming from initial shock to excitement. Amazing! Captain Morgan is defeated. This guy's rule is over. Liberation! To Luffy's surprise, instead of continuing the fight, the Marines cheered excitedly. They discarded their weapons, exuding genuine relief and joy. Hey? What's happening? Why are they so happy now that the captain is down? Luffy was completely caught off guard. Logan smiled and clarified, clearly, from the fear these soldiers showed towards Morgan earlier, it's evident they've endured Morgan reign for a long time, forced to serve as his minions. Now that Morgan is defeated, they can finally be true Marines again. Ah, I see, Luffy scratched his head, seeming to understand. Forget that, we need to find a doctor for Zoro, Logan reminded, helping Zoro outside. I'll take care of it. Luffy volunteered, hoisting Zoro over his shoulder with one arm like a rope. Dash. A few days later. At the port of Shell's town. Big brother, take care. With tears in her eyes, little girl held onto Zoro's hand tightly. At this point, Zoro's injuries had almost healed. Normally, with such severe wounds, recovery would have taken around 100 days. Logan had seen Zoro's incredible physique in manga before, but witnessing it firsthand made him realize that Zoro was indeed a powerhouse. It felt almost surreal to praise such a formidable figure. Though a few ribs were broken, they'd heal in a matter of days. Would you have believed it without seeing it yourself? Well, thanks for the rice ball. Next time I visit, could you make more for me? Zoro squatted, displaying both his rugged and compassionate sides as he patted the little girl head. With a striking silhouette, Zoro strode to the ship's side and ascended to the deck. Luffy. Logan. As the pirate ship departed from the port, Kobe rushed over and called out. Hey there, Kobe. You made it, Luffy grinned, seemingly expecting Kobe's arrival. Logan waved at Kobe. Hi. From your attire, I guess you've finally fulfilled your wish to become a Marine, right? Kobe exclaimed, yes. I'm sorry I'm late. I sneaked out just to bid you farewell. Sneaked out? Are you sure? Logan grinned, lifting his right index finger and gesturing towards the area behind Kobe. Perplexed, Kobe didn't understand Logan's signal but instinctively turned around to see what was behind him. To Kobe's surprise, there stood a row of neatly arranged Marine soldiers on the port behind him. What? Kobe was taken aback. Oh no, Kobe muttered to himself, feeling disheartened. I finally joined the Marines, and now, sneaking out to bid farewell to the pirates, I've been caught. It's the end of my Marine dream. However, just when Kobe was about to lose hope, the officer of the Marines' voice boomed across the port. All, attention! Salute! All the Marines snapped to attention and saluted. Hey! Kobe was momentarily surprised, but quickly grasped the situation. He turned towards Logan and Luffy, saluting them in return. Logan and Luffy acknowledged it with a nod and responded with a hand gesture to the Marines. Chapter 23. The pirate ship had departed from Shell's town. This guy's reading mangas. Zoro couldn't help but wonder aloud. Manga. Wait a minute. I think I remember something. Kobe mentioned this to me before. Zoro suddenly recalled what Kobe had told him earlier. Logan's manga can transport you into the manga world, Kobe had mentioned. And Kobe learned incredible swordsmanship with sparks and lightning from one of those mangas. Observing Luffy heading to read manga right after extracting his belongings, Zoro became even more suspicious. Leaning in with doubts, Zoro questioned, can you actually enter the manga? Luffy was just about to activate his spirit to enter the manga world when Zoro's sudden inquiry disrupted the process. Oh, yeah, Luffy nodded, but then asked in surprise, hey, how did you know? I heard from Kobe. He said that Logan possesses a devil fruit ability related to manga, enabling entry into the manga's world. Is that true? Zoro recounted what Kobe had mentioned. That's right. It's true, Luffy affirmed, nodding. Then, a thought struck him, by the way, I felt a bit embarrassed about our previous battle. These words triggered an explosion from Zoro. Hey, there's a limit to underestimating someone. If you lose, you lose, if you win, you win. I'm not the type to argue just for the sake of it. No. Luffy shook his head. If I had met you a few days ago, I wouldn't have easily defeated you. Remember the strength I had when we first fought at the Marine Base Square? I remember. We were evenly matched then. But after you activated your second gear, I couldn't keep up. Wait. Are you saying you learned that second gear move from mangas? Zoro suddenly remembered Kobe mentioning learning swordsmanship from mangas. Not exactly, Luffy replied, gesturing with a finger. But I owe the mangas for enabling me to develop the second gear quickly. Failing repeatedly in that manga world pushed me to strive harder, ultimately leading to the development of the second and third gears. So, without those mangas, it's hard to predict who would have won our battle that day, Luffy stated calmly. He's not someone who's concerned about saving face. By the way, have you visited Logan yet? Go and ask for a copy. As a swordsman, learning more about swordsmanship would be beneficial, Luffy suggested. Can I do that too? Hearing this, Zoro felt a rush of emotions. His breathing became faster involuntarily. For someone like him, the aspiration to grow stronger was his dream. What was this feeling? Luffy stood up, speaking earnestly, hey. Of course. We're crewmates. Crew. Accustomed to being alone for so long, Zoro seemed to have grown accustomed to acting independently. However, when he heard Luffy affectionately call him crew, he couldn't help but feel touched. Crew. Yes. From now on, you're my captain. Once recognized, last a lifetime. Without delay, Zoro didn't hinder Luffy's entrance into the manga and instead went to Logan's studio as his crew. Inside the cabin. Zoro? Come in and have a seat, Logan paused his paintbrush, extending a warm invitation. Except for a certain captain coming to ransack the place, everyone else was welcome in Logan's studio. Zoro stepped into the studio and was greeted by a bookshelf packed with manga. It left him breathless. Are all of these mangas that lead into other worlds? Logan's talent truly amazed him. Deciding to cut straight to the point, Zoro addressed Logan, Logan, I'd like to request a manga focusing on swordsmanship. Would that be possible? Reading manga? Logan appeared slightly surprised. Shouldn't this guy spend all his spare time on cultivation? Why the sudden interest in manga? Could it be due to Luffy's influence? But, a manga about swordsmanship? That seemed plausible. It could expose Zoro to the majestic skills of powerful swordsmen in alternate worlds, a potentially great idea. After a moment's contemplation, Logan headed to the manga bookshelf and searched through it. Selecting a particular volume, he handed it to Zoro, saying, Here, take this manga. The swordsman depicted within possesses remarkable skills. I hope you find it insightful. Even the manga's creator acknowledged the exceptional swordsmanship depicted within. Zoro felt a surge of excitement. All right. I won't disappoint you. Accepting the manga eagerly, Zoro glanced at the cover. Biography of Kojiro Sasaki. Chapter 24. On the deck, Luffy sat at one end while Zoro occupied the other, engrossed in the manga he had opened. The story unfolded in a mountain garden. Beneath a banyan tree sat a striking young boy with a twig in his mouth. He sported a dark blue ponytail, a lavender headband, a dark purple sleeveless waistcoat over a purple kimono, wristbands tied in purple around his wrists, and straw sandals on his feet. The boy skillfully wielded a long sword, continuously chopping piles of wooden golems. Behind him stood a scruffy-looking old man, watching the boy with a broad smile. "This cut is off by half an inch," the old man remarked. "This one's improved, just 1 centimeter off." "Oh, Sasaki, you missed your mark with that cut just now. This cut is nearly perfect again." Each time Sasaki Kojiro made a stroke, the old man provided precise feedback on the accuracy of his cuts. The wooden golem stakes had a red mark, a thin line representing the target Sasaki Kojiro aimed to strike. Despite the sweat on his young face, Sasaki Kojiro displayed unwavering determination as he focused on chopping the wooden golem piles, aiming at the marked red line. Day by day, Sasaki Kojiro diligently continued this practice, never wavering from the target. His cutting errors progressively diminished. Zoro found himself captivated by the scene of the boy chopping the wooden golem piles, compelling him to scroll down further. In the blink of an eye, the boy had transformed into a youth. He now possessed a tall, imposing figure and a handsome appearance. If not for the long sword in his arms, nobody would have guessed he was a swordsman. Raised in a tumultuous era, Sasaki Kojiro had to engage in daily battles with swords and blades to survive. Under such circumstances, ordinary individuals would easily succumb to a brutal and merciless mindset. However, Sasaki Kojiro displayed none of the signs of madness often associated with warriors. Instead, he exhibited refined habits such as admiring the moon, savoring tea, and reciting poetry. When not wielding a blade, he seemed to embody elegance itself. Initially, Zoro struggled to comprehend Sasaki Kojiro's behavior. He believed a swordsman should remain focused on combat, questioning why one should appreciate the aesthetics of life. But as he delved further into the story, Zoro realized his misconception. In the following pages, Kojiro Sasaki encountered his first formidable adversary. The battles were evenly matched, each side attacking and defending with equal fervor. The encounters resulted in severe injuries, both parties sustaining deep wounds. Amidst the fierce combat, as both sides neared exhaustion, the opponent adopted an aggressive, all-out attack strategy, seemingly aiming for a mutual killing blow. This reckless approach significantly increased the chances of victory in such a dire situation. However, a gust of mountain wind unraveled the opponent's hair bun, revealing a sense of elegance. Meanwhile, Sasaki Kojiro, wielding a 5-foot-long sword, remained composed and collected, as if calmly enjoying the moonlight and sipping tea in his own tranquil courtyard, showing no hint of panic. Effortlessly maneuvering through the courtyard, he skillfully deflected the opponent's frenzied strikes one by one. Amid the opponent's increasing bewilderment, Sasaki Kojiro's graceful sword stroke elegantly crossed the opponent's neck, ending the battle. With a resounding clang, he sheathed his sword, standing tall and straight like a towering pine tree. Amidst the moonlit mountains, a solitary figure remained in the chilling glow. Retrieving a wine jug from his waist, he uncorked it and nonchalantly tossed the cork away. Such a leisurely demeanor. At this moment, Zoro comprehended it. Sasaki Kojiro wasn't like those pretentious individuals who merely pretended to appreciate artistry. He had seamlessly integrated the path of elegance into his own style of swordsmanship. As the story in the manga progressed, Sasaki Kojiro had already mastered the art of swordsmanship, no longer needing to engage in daily battles because most of his adversaries had perished. In his routine, mornings involved practicing with his wooden sword, chopping wooden golem stakes. At noon, he savored tea while basking in the sunlight. By sunset, he enjoyed wine, appreciated the moon, and recited poetry. As Zoro neared the end of the manga, a sudden realization struck him. Wait a minute. You mentioned I could enter the manga. Why have I nearly finished reading it and still haven't entered? Zoro questioned himself. Almost instantaneously, the familiar scent of the sea breeze vanished, replaced by the fragrance of a damp mountain forest, carried by the moist wind laden with rain and dew, a sensation that brought relaxation and contentment. Curiously, Kojiro Sasaki ceased his chopping of wooden golem piles, turning to observe the stranger who had suddenly appeared in his yard. Are you lost, young man? Sasaki Kojiro inquired. Lost? Zoro? That was preposterous. I, Zoro, never get lost. Zoro was about to erupt in anger, almost as a reflex. However, just as the surge of fury welled within him. "Hey!" Zoro exclaimed, widening his eyes as he took in his surroundings, realizing he had somehow entered the world depicted in the manga. "Senior Sasaki Kojiro," Zoro subconsciously addressed the middle-aged man before him. "Senior." Sasaki Kojiro regarded Zoro calmly, his profound gaze seemingly gauging Zoro's strength almost instantly. Shaking his head, Kojiro remarked, "Young man, if you're here to challenge me, it's too soon." Despite Sasaki Kojiro's past, he wasn't someone who took lives indiscriminately. "No, senior. I want to learn swordsmanship from you." Zoro blurted out abruptly, a departure from his usual character. His perception of characters in mangas, influenced by Luffy and Kobe, led him to believe that the manga world was a place to learn art. Thus, he expressed his thoughts without any preamble. As he gazed at the young man who had wandered into his courtyard, he was reminded of his own teenage years when he encountered an elderly sword master by chance. This encounter set him on the path of swordsmanship. Despite the old master leaving abruptly after a month, he imparted the graceful technique of chopping wooden golem piles and the ways of a swordsman, Zoro's sole teacher in life. In this moment, facing the young man who had intruded into his courtyard, Sasaki Kojiro felt a sense of déjà vu, as if looking at another version of himself from a different time. "Come, try your hand at cutting a wooden golem pile," Kojiro said casually, flicking the wooden sword toward Zoro in a perfectly executed curve. Chapter 25. Zoro gripped the wooden sword and approached the wooden golem pile. With both hands firmly on the wooden sword, he slashed down onto the pile. Swish! The wooden golem pile exploded into pieces. Zoro turned towards Sasaki Kojiro. "Senior, I've been practicing swordsmanship since a very young age. I believe I've mastered the basics," Zoro remarked confidently. Sasaki Kojiro didn't respond verbally. Instead, he calmly walked over to the sword rest and selected another wooden sword. "Young man, I've now adjusted my strength to match yours," Kojiro said calmly, positioning the wooden sword at a 45-degree angle to the ground, resembling a figure in a tranquil painting. "All right. Let's do it." Zoro eagerly welcomed the opportunity to face such a formidable senior. In the world of pirates, combat was the path to strength, and this opponent presented an excellent challenge. "Senior, prepare yourself." Zoro initiated the stance, placing the wooden sword at his waist. With a fierce glint in his eyes, he declared, "One sword-style lion song." In an instant, Zoro vanished from his position, executing an incredibly swift sword-drawing maneuver designed to appear behind the opponent as the sword is drawn, an efficient end to the battle. However, snap! The wooden sword slipped from Sasaki Kojiro's hand. Zoro felt a dizzying sensation, collapsing to the ground. "What a swift sword!" he muttered, modeling a bump on his forehead. "Once more." Sasaki Kojiro offered Zoro the fallen wooden sword. "Absolutely." Zoro responded enthusiastically. Battles always excited him. Zoro grabbed the sword once more, adopting a stance, and charged forward again. Snap! Zoro tumbled to the ground, rubbing his forehead. The first bump had grown larger, but no second bump appeared. Again. Sasaki Kojiro's response remained unchanged. Picking up another wooden sword from the rack, Zoro contemplated his strategy. He then readied himself. Nitri, Nijiri. Snap! Zoro fell again, patting his forehead in pain. Ouch! This time the blow hit the same spot, causing more agony than before. Why? How? Despite comprehending the opponent's strategy after the first two encounters, Zoro was confounded by the repetitive blows targeting the same vulnerable spot. Again, echoed Sasaki Kojiro's calm voice. He remained rooted in the same position throughout the exchanges. Frustration welled within Zoro. Why couldn't he make the opponent budge, even with the level playing field? If the opponent unleashed their full strength, Zoro wouldn't mind. But this consistent one-sided dominance, despite matching their level, was intolerable to him. Zoro, feeling increasingly frustrated compared to his previous fights, couldn't accept the ongoing situation. Impossible. Even with vast combat experience, using the same technique flawlessly repeatedly is implausible, Zoro reasoned. He returned to the sword rack and selected another wooden sword. Perceiving his actions, Sasaki Kojiro frowned slightly. "What's your plan?" he inquired. "In truth, I am a three-sword swordsman," Zoro declared, placing the wooden sword between his teeth. Slightly hesitant, Kojiro replied, "Come again. This time it'll be different." Zoro determinedly gripped the dual sword, showcasing an impressive burst of muscular power. With swift movement, he raised both sabers above his head, launching an unrivaled assault towards Kojiro Sasaki. Santry, Toragari. Zoro's attack, akin to a tiger's fierce leap, struck with incredible speed. Observing the opponent's attacks thrice earlier, Zoro had deduced the vulnerability lay on the left side due to Kojiro wielding the sword in his right hand. Thus, Zoro aimed his strike towards Kojiro's left. Snap! Stunned, Zoro lay on the ground, bewildered. How was this possible? Despite identifying the loophole, Kojiro's attack landed precisely on the bulging spot on his head. He touched the bulge in disbelief. Impossible! How can someone execute the same strike multiple times without losing accuracy? Despite being directionally challenged, Zoro was a prodigy in swordsmanship. Unable to discern where he erred, he realized that despite repeated moves, Kojiro's accuracy remained unwavering. This made it impossible to exploit any mistakes. Wherever Zoro faltered, Kojiro consistently dominated their encounters with unerring strikes. As a result of his repeated defeats, Zoro made a resolute decision. "I won't be fighting again," Zoro stated firmly, shaking his head. He had come to a realization, no matter how many times he challenged Sasaki Kojiro, he couldn't decipher the secrets behind Kojiro's swordsmanship. Each encounter felt like their first, leaving Zoro unable to discern Kojiro's swordplay even after numerous confrontations. Yes, from the first fight to the 1000th, facing Sasaki Kojiro felt consistently new, as if encountering the legendary swordsman for the very first time. Zoro acknowledged this unchanging reality and found no purpose in persisting. Seeing Zoro's refusal, Sasaki Kojiro calmly suggested, "Let's resume cutting wooden golem piles then," placing the wooden sword back in its holder before heading towards the house. Zoro acknowledged the decision with a simple acknowledgement. This time, he felt no hint of dissatisfaction. He understood now the seemingly ordinary chop executed by Sasaki Kojiro was far from ordinary. It encapsulated the essence of Kojiro's daily practice, something Zoro finally comprehended. Observing the wooden golem pile, Zoro focused on a faint red line in the center, the only mark that intersected the red line on the stake, despite it being split countless times. Sure, splitting the wooden golem pile in one swift stroke was an impressive display of power. Yet, that raw strength was merely superficial. Anyone could achieve it. However, the true demonstration of power lay in the wooden golem pile's condition after years of splitting. Despite numerous cleaves, only a shallow trace remained, a testament to enduring power, depth, and precision, qualities that transcended brute force. This, to Zoro, was the essence of true strength.
Thanks for listening.